All right, hello YouTube. Welcome to Dark Tower Palaver, roundtable number 156. This time I remembered to do the social media thing warning.
Proud of you, Tad.
Last
it's only been 9 years. So.
last episode after we're getting ready to wrap, I was like, oh, I didn't close those tabs, and I opened one, and it's like, oh, there's the post still. I didn't click send on. They were all typed out, just didn't hit send. So of course that's the important part, is sending it out. Who cares if you type it?
Yeah.
Is a tree fall and a whatever, does it actually make a net, whatever nonsense. All right, so let's go ahead.
Tad's gone crazy.
Gone crazy. I thought you've been saying I've always been crazy.
No, I've always said you're evil.
Oh, okay. Let's go ahead and hit the intro and get the podcast side started real quick, and we'll dive on in.
The Dark Tower by Stephen King. The man in black fled across the desert, and the gunslinger followed. Go then. There are other worlds than these. Death, but not for you, gunslinger. It's time we had our own palaver, I think, and it's going to take a while.
And yet, dauntless, the slug horn to my lips I set, and blew. Child Roland to the Dark Tower came.
We are content, one from many. Let the palaver begin.
Hello and welcome to Dark Tower Palaver. This is our podcast covering Stephen King's magnum opus, the Dark Tower series. My name is Tad.
And I'm Peter.
And we're here for episode 156. Roundtable. And it just dawned on me as I was doing the prep for this over the last few days. This is, if all was according to our normal plan, this would be our penultimate roundtable for the year. Because we usually only have one roundtable per month. This month actually has 3 episodes. But I do think that we're actually going to change that rule this time, and I believe we're going to do a roundtable as our third episode for this month. So this will actually be not our penultimate; it'll end up being our third to last, and then we'll have the roundtable at the end of this month. I think it's the 30th or something like that. It is the 30th, yeah. So we got the 2nd, the 16th, and the 30th are our 3 episodes for November. So we'll do roundtable, book club roundtable, and then next month we will flip the episodes because the year-end bash has got to be a roundtable and not a book club. So it'll end up being basically, I guess we're going in order the rest of the year. Yeah, that's the way it worked out.
Back and forth. So,
so that is what we got coming up on the calendar. I have another little thing to announce as well here in a second, but let's get the intro stuff out of the way first. First of all, we want to warn you about spoilers because this is a roundtable, so there is often many spoilers for the Dark Tower series and assorted Stephen King spoilers as well. But the Dark Tower is what we're most concerned about.
Yep.
If you've not finished the 7 primary books, then now is a good time to cry off this podcast. Go to our book clubs, stick with those. With those, we stay generally where we're at or before. We have a little spoiler section at the end, but it's very isolated. These episodes, though, we have legitimately spoiled big plot points during the introduction. Yes. So it's not unheard of. So if you're not all the way through the end of the 7th book, this is probably not a safe episode for you. Next up, if you want to find the show, you can find it on Apple Podcasting, Spotify, Amazon Music, Audible, any podcasting service of your choice. If you could do us a favor and subscribe, rate, and review us on any of those, we'd appreciate that. That always helps to grow the extended content. And then the YouTube is over here at youtube.com/darktowerpalaver. And then if you're here, you can join us live. Like so far, I know Baraki has joined us and a few others if the count is correct. And of course, you can never trust Google because they're evil and lying. Google is lies and deceptions, right?
Lies, deception.
That's such a great line.
It was delivered so well.
Yeah, I mean, Forrest Whitaker's amazing.
Yes.
So, that is on this side, though. If you want to join live, you can do it over here at youtube.com/darktowerpalaver. If you could like, subscribe, and ring the bell for notifications, that'll stop Blaine from hitting us with the lightning teeth.
Gross.
Of course, I know you probably bit tinfoil, right?
Oh, yeah.
At some point.
Doesn't affect me.
Oh, really?
I don't know what it is. Like I have fillings. Doesn't affect me.
Interesting. Did you do it on purpose?
Yeah, because that's what I've always heard. It's like biting tinfoil. I'm like, what does that mean? And so that's why I looked it up, and it's like, yeah, if you have fillings, it like really affects it. So I'm like, all right. I was putting away food one time for my mom, and it was with tinfoil. You know, I'll wrap that in aluminum foil and put it in the fridge. And I'm like, okay, Mom. And I'm like,
because
it doesn't do anything.
Some people also do it on accident. You know, they'll have a food that's wrapped in a piece will get stuck, and then they bite into the food and get. Yeah. But yeah, that's that'll stop Blaine from getting us. So teeth stuff though gets people.
Gets me.
Yeah, just in general. Teeth, eyes, and fingernails.
Yes.
And Achilles tendons.
We're going to talk about an Achilles tendon, aren't we?
What?
On Geekery Abides.
Oh, yeah. So next, show notes are at darktowerpalaver.com. For this episode, all of our roundtables, we have a lot of the show notes are over at there at darktowerpalaver.com. Not a lot of posts for our book club episodes, but you can still find everything over there. We don't have show notes for the book clubs, I guess I should say. But there's also the questions for new listeners, all the kind of fun stuff like that. It's kind of the hub for all things Dark Tower Palaver. You'll find links to pretty much everything that exists out there. If you want to support the show, you can do that at patreon.com/darktowerpalaver. With that, if you subscribe at any level, you can get our access to our Discord where we are chatting all the time between shows and stuff. And then if you have, or you also get our monthly hangouts. I guess theoretically that should have been this week, but we have 3 episodes, so it doesn't matter.
Yes.
So we'll figure that out for November and December. But
hey, Brocky, that's not nice. Man.
Said, so Peter chewed aluminum foil as a child. That explains so much.
Man.
I love it.
Wow.
It's not even me getting the first
little jab at me.
Yeah, indeed. Though probably won't be the last.
I mean, you did bring up electric teeth.
That is true. That's true. But yeah, you also get the monthly hangouts. We do those, and then if you are at the highest level, the gunslingers of the Eld level, you actually are able to host and co-host an episode with us as well. That's all.
Not host. We're still going to be here.
Yeah. But I mean, we let you pick what you want to talk about and stuff. So definitely fun stuff. So you can find out that over patreon.com/darktowerpalaver. Then if you want to contact the show, Peter can let you know the best ways to do that.
It's getting to the point where we're going to retire the email jingle. We haven't had one.
We
for
have
so
one
long.
this episode.
Hey, we do.
I mentioned it on our book club because it's a book club email, but it was literally from the first book. The first half of the first book, so what, 8 years ago?
Yeah.
But I kind of felt, I mean, our book clubs are so jam-packed, I kind of find it hard, especially when we're in the middle of book 4, to then go back and talk about a note from book 1. So I felt Roundtable's probably the best place to address it. So we got one today.
Okay, we got one today. So we're going to hear the email jingle? Like you have it queued up?
Indeed. I mean, unless the button got broke
We're gonna tease it a little bit. If it fails, we know who to blame, and we know who to go after.
North Central Positronics, of course.
It'll be your turn to ride the lightning. But email us. It's show@darktowerpalaver.com. And then we got our social medias. We got our Twitter. It's @DarkTowerPod. That's @DarkTowerPod. Our Blue Sky account is @darktowerpalaver.bsky.social. Our Facebook is facebook.com/darktowerpalaver. Instagram is darktowerpalaver, all one word, no spaces. And then our merchandise is tpublic.com/users/darktowerpalaver. Go pick yourself up the official #TatIsTerrible logo of the show. The main logo.
Official,
the official one.
Only in your, what is it, your young mind, or no, only in your mind, my young apprentice.
Hey, I'm like 2 months younger than you. You can't say that.
Again, we talked about it not too long ago on horror movies and stuff. So I have grown you in the world in a lot of ways. So
besides, I have almost a teenage daughter. That officially makes me older than you by by far. I am so aged because of that.
You're withered with age.
I'm like a little old man.
I mean, you are pushing 40, so
shut up. God, you're closer than I am.
Yeah, that's true, but still. So let's go ahead and jump on over to the normal normal part of the show, outside of the announcements. The first thing I want to do is actually give a little bit of an update. We actually, Carol reached out to us, so she's been a pretty regular member of the chat for a while, but we haven't really seen a whole lot of her this year. She reached out. She has some stuff going on, but she did say that she's okay for the most part and hopes to be back when she can. So
that's good.
She wanted, she said if I thought it was appropriate to share that, of course, because we are a community, I wanted to share that because I've certainly wondered.
Yeah.
So it's good to hear from her. But yeah, hopefully at some point we'll see her back here in the chat and being part of the show. So let's go ahead and jump on over to the next thing, which is actually kind of what dawned on me while doing the prep on this is March Insanity 2025. If we are I guess we usually announce it. Yeah, because we announce it now and then we give it until the end of the year for people to submit
ideas for
the nomination or for the spots on the bracket, basically.
And then the bracket usually comes out at the first of the year, and we start doing the actual
in March is
like
when
whittling down to the what is it
16.
Yeah, we start whittling it down that first month of the year. Yeah, into the second month. Oh, no, don't we usually announce it in January?
I think we usually announce it pretty because usually what we'll try to do is get everyone to send their nominations to fill the bracket now through the end of the year, and then at the end of the year I'll have it all. I'll compile all the data, figure out what are the top 16 choices. That'll be the bracket, and then we'll unveil it probably early in the year. Voting starts in March.
We usually start in March, right?
Yeah. But we'll unveil the bracket early though. We can because there's just no way to vote until I post.
2 months. That's a lot of time.
Maybe not January. It might be again. There's only 2 episodes per month
That's
on
true.
Roundtable.
There is only 2 episodes.
That's the thing that always throws us off is now with us because in the old days we used to do 2 roundtables and a book club. Now that we're going back and forth, it is crazy that we're only doing 1 book club and 1 roundtable per month. So
and the book club is the first episode of the month. I mean, the roundtable is the first episode of the month.
Yeah,
too,
we can bring up the stuff, but either way, let's go ahead and jump on over the slide though, because I do want to actually, let me hide them both though, so we can
reveal.
Yeah,
drum roll, please.
Got to be dramatic. I think we do have a drum roll button.
Do we have a drum roll button?
Yeah,
I don't have a drum roll button.
Yeah, on the Geekery Abides. Yeah, see.
I do have a drum roll button.
So the first one, I just lost the slide. There we go. The first one for the Dark, because again we're also doing 2.
Yes, that's the other thing.
We promised it last year that we're going to do 2. We're going to do a Dark Tower one and a non-Dark Tower one, which is the rest of Stephen King.
Yes.
So the Dark Tower one, we are going to do favorite spoken line.
Yes.
So that is one that David sent to us, I believe, in the chat. I did have that noted that he sent that one in. So we're going to do favorite spoken line, which again, spoken's the key word there, so you can't do like the opening line or anything like that. It's got to be a spoken line. And then for the first,
it's not showing on my screen.
Oh, because I didn't. There we go.
You didn't unveil it?
Yeah. Well, I click again. It's the dual screen
Wrong
thing on
screen.
Yeah. So there it is on the screen. Favorite spoken line is the Dark Tower bracket for 2025, which I got to start getting used to saying 2025. And then for the first
that was way off.
For the first annual Stephen King non-Dark Tower side, we are going to be doing most hated non-Dark Tower character.
Because that's just what we go with.
That's how we kicked off in 2019, that's how we kicked off the Dark Tower bracket. So we decided why not do the same thing, but now we're talking non-Dark Tower characters, which means it's King but not Dark Tower.
So we're going to have to clarify. If a character's in the Dark Tower at all, they cannot be on this bracket.
Correct.
That includes...
Because they would have been on the Dark Tower bracket.
So that includes Flag, Father Callahan.
No.
That's why I'm asked. That's why I'm asking.
I think there is going to be if they're really big. I mean, Father Callahan certainly wouldn't show up, but on most hated.
But I'm just saying there are characters who show up in the Dark Tower that are not.
Yeah, I would say
are in other Stephen King
certainly.
works.
Yeah, and I think if they're primarily a Dark Tower character, probably not. But I guess that would technically make some overlap because like Flag appeared first in The Stand, so it's like he didn't show up until later for the Dark Tower.
I mean, technically, Gunslinger came out before than The Stand. If memory serves, I could be wrong about this, but the Gunslinger was published first.
Yeah, but Man in Black wasn't revealed to be Flag until much later. So
still Flag though. I'm just saying. Just because we didn't know that it was flagged doesn't mean that it's not flagged.
I mean, you know my standard. If there's a person that you would call a villain, not me, of course, I assume they're flagged just from the get-go. And
until proven wrong.
Until it's proven wrong. Like, I just assume it, you know. And that's not even like, oh, he happens to have an RF initial. No, any of them. I'm like, that's a random flag. And then as the book like rolls out, and then eventually it proves that it's not. Even like the cannibals in the Holly book, I'm like, flag.
It's flag. Flag has a wife. I knew it. This is getting out of hand. Now there's two of them.
There are two of them.
Baraki says Flag, the true hero of the DT universe.
Yes, indeed.
DT series.
Indeed.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Telling Roland to cry off the tower, it would have saved everything.
No, it wouldn't have. We've been over this. We've talked about this. Oh, I got to ask you a question. I think it's... Okay. It is coming up this episode why I've been out of Discord.
Yeah.
Okay.
News-wise.
Okay. You didn't say anything, so I was just like, wait.
Yeah,
that is this episode, right?
Yeah, and then it was funny because I think there was two things that ended up happening around the same day.
Okay.
And something happened, and maybe before anything got mentioned, Discord, I just told Peter, because Peter likes the head in the sand, and I like it too.
It's great.
So sometimes I will warn him to stay away from the Discord for a little bit, just to avoid any spoilers.
Tad texted me. I was at work, and he texted me. He's like, hey, major story break. Maybe you want to put your head in the sand. And I'm like, done. I went into Discord, and I mute.
Yeah.
Just turned off notifications.
So just to put a pin on this, the March Insanity, though, send all your you can send them if Peter can keep track, if it's in the chat here, but otherwise send it to us on social media, email it into us, all that kind of stuff. Email your nominations. You can send as many as you want. What I'll end up doing is I'll basically gather into a master list, and if someone's like, I'm not going to say anyone true because I don't want to like put my thumb on the scale, but like say Oi was going to be nominated. I know that doesn't make sense for one bracket, but let's just say, well, I guess it could be a favorite spoken line, but
Oi
or Oland.
Oh. I don't use the soundboard much, but you're deserving it now. Hashtag Tad is terrible.
But like, say Oi was your nomination. If 15 people independently send Oi, he's probably going to end up on the bracket. Whereas if someone were to nominate Father Callahan, and again, it doesn't really necessarily fit for either of these two brackets, but I'm just using an example. If only two people mention that person and he only gets 2 votes, like that might get it. That might not be enough to get him on the bracket. Right. So send as many as you want. You're not going to be restricted to, I only have one nomination. No, nominate as many people as you want. In fact, you would be losing a chunk of your vote if you only nominated one person per bracket, or one nomination per bracket. So send all those in. You have until basically the end of the year. That is when I will basically cap it, and then that's the point I'll start compiling, because that's usually what I do is in January is when I go through and I do all the calculations and stuff to figure it out, and then I will frame the bracket, and then probably in February I'll unveil it, and then March 1st we start the voting, and then at the end of March we will unveil our 2 winners. So that is awesome.
We already got a couple in the chat from Alan. All things serve the beam, and Mrs. Carmody.
Mrs. Carmody serves the beam?
No, she does not.
You know what? I'm just going to point out.
Don't. No.
Mrs. Carmody
No.
said,
No.
kill the kid, and the mist will disappear. And at the end of the movie, that kid dies, and the mist disappears shortly after. So all I'm saying is maybe Mrs. Carmody had a point. I've been saving that thought for a while. I keep forgetting to bring it up, and I'm like, tell me where the logic is flawed. You may not be happy about it, but maybe she was right.
No.
Oh man. So that's March Insanity. Get all your nominations sent in, social media, email, or in the live chat if you're with us in the live chat. I guess also if you're watching the YouTube video in the future and you're not watching live, you can throw it in the comments too, as long as it's before the end of the year. And I will find those comments and throw them into my master list as well.
Okay,
so the 16 that end up getting the most votes end up being the ones that'll be on the brackets. So
we got to clarify something that Alan just said in the chat. He says Miss Carmody from the Mist, which is technically a Dark Tower story, I believe. We're not going to count The Mist as a Dark Tower story.
No,
we're talking the 7 primary books
Little
plus
Sisters of Illyria,
Little Sisters of Illyria, and Wind Through the Keyhole. Like if the characters introduced in those books,
we're
we say introduced, we're Tad mentioned, like Father Callahan,
like we wouldn't
Flag.
like we didn't let Mrs. Carmody on the list for the Dark Tower most hated in 2019.
No.
But I mean,
exactly.
We totally understand where like there is obviously all things are on one level of the tower, but we're just talking strictly in the sense of like not in the universe of like everything is part of the Dark Tower. We're just talking about there's the Dark Tower universe and then there's the non-Dark Tower universe. Like, and because that's where we came up with last year, where I was like, God, some of these fucking topics like would almost be as good if we were able to do it on the non-Dark Tower side as well as the Dark Tower side. And that's where we ended up deciding to do 2 brackets.
Exactly. And so that's where we're at here. But like the Mist, yes, it does have Dark Tower connections, as does Insomnia and several others.
Rocky says you lost me on that one, Tad. Everyone's turning on me. Excellent. Oh, I don't know. I think it was the last time I watched it that dawned on me, where it was just like, because you really don't get an explanation as to why the mist does dissipate. You know, like the military's followed up behind, but it's like, is the military chasing the mist away?
I always just assumed that the people at the Arrowhead Project. I think that's what it is. Arrowhead, Broken Arrow. It's something Arrow.
Arrowhead Project.
Arrowhead Project. Mm-hmm. I always assumed it's someone at the Arrowhead Project finally got shit together and went, oh, that's how we close this rift into Toadash darkness, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Yes, Tad does break for Randall Flagg.
I would too.
That would be a bumper sticker I should just put it on your car. Not tell you, just put it on there.
Yeah. Oh, so were you talking like break on my car or break beams?
Yes. I mean, they both fit.
It both fits, yeah.
Imagine if you did that. I break for Randall Flagg and then you put a steel beam and it's broken, like snapped in half.
Oh, man. Let's see. So let's go ahead and jump on into the news then. So the first one might be somewhat big, and it's actually came after I told you. So this is something else.
This is what you were saying. There was 2.
There's multiple.
So this is the second one.
This is multiple things for sure. So this is and I also titled this "Thus Tweeteth the King." So Stephen King tweeted on October 26, 2024, and he says, "I'm back in Midworld and in the territories."
What?
Don't know if it will develop into anything. Kind of what he said before. He was thinking, but not necessarily writing in that whole chain of things. He says, I never know, but it's good to be back. And then it's a picture of a shirt, all things serve the fucking beam. You had the same reaction I think most Dark Tower fans had when it broke. So
I'm back in Midworld and the territories. Now we got to remember that's Black House and Talisman.
Yeah. So we know
it's
that
the third one, right?
So we heard that when Peter Straub died, that King said that a few months or whatever before he passed away, or a while before he passed away, maybe even, that Peter had actually sent King an extensive, or not extensive, but
an idea.
Sent him something that's an idea for the third book, and then they weren't able to move on it before he passed away. And King said that he wasn't sure whether he would dive into it, but if he did, it would end up being a really long book.
Yeah.
So that came to my mind because he mentioned the territories. Mm-hmm. A lot of people are immediately jumping to, oh my God, it's a new Dark Tower book, and like, I mean, I've seen headlines in that way. Now, I even brought it up on Twitter where it's like, is it a Dark Tower book? Is it a Talisman book, or is it both? Because that could very well be.
What if Jack shows up in Gilead?
Yeah, I mean, and the fact that he says in Midworld and the territories makes me think it's got to be both, right?
Yeah. Well, that was the thing, is we always thought, like, is the territories Midworld?
Yeah.
Is it is it a thing like that? So all right.
Yeah. Let's see. Am I missing anything in the chat?
All things serve the fucking beam. Okay, I'll update that, Alan.
What?
To
the bracket list. Okay. So yeah, this is that's it. That's just this tweet is all the only bit of this news story. But I mean,
ooh, boy.
I mean, honestly, like where are you at now in your mind? Like, I think previous when we had all those King tweets, and then somebody questioned him, and they said, "Are you thinking or writing?" And he said, "Just thinking for now." He's like, and I remember saying, "But thinking's the first step of writing, though."
That is.
And I think that, I don't remember where you were at then, but I think we were both like sub 50% hope that there'd be a new Dark Tower book with all those, what was it, like a 2.5 months worth of tweeting that he was doing that just felt like small nuggets here and there. And I think we were both less than 50% like certain that we'd probably get another Dark Tower book. We both speculated as well. Maybe it was just something about the Flanagan series, something, whatever. But where are you at now with this tweet added to it?
85% convinced that we're going to get something.
Yeah, me too.
Like, I don't think that this is... Again, King doesn't do this kind of stuff unless something's a brewing.
And to say something publicly, like, it's one thing for, like, maybe he was on an interview or something and somebody said, like, whatever, and he, like, kind of gave, like, an answer that almost gave us some hope. Like, this is him pulling up his phone or computer and typing out a fucking tweet and hitting send. Like, this is, like, thought through. Why would he send that if he didn't have a feeling? Because I know he says he does hedge a little bit. Don't know if it'll develop into anything, but I never know. But it's good to be back. So I just don't see why he would send that if he didn't kind of have a vibe that he was probably going to end up with a new book. So
He's on the train. He's on his way.
Exactly.
Like, that's how it feels to me. Now, does it absolutely mean that we're going to get something? No. It could end up being one of those ones that he writes 500 pages and then goes, ugh, garbage.
Yeah.
You know, it's very possible. But, again, like you said, to put that out there and put all things serve the fucking beam, like a picture of this T-shirt.
Yeah.
Like, there was thought there.
Yeah.
There was also thought, and I'm going to call attention to this. I'm back in Midworld, ... and the territories. It's not I'm back in the territories in Midworld, or I'm back in Midworld in the territories. It's there's a pause there on purpose.
Yeah.
That's intention. King doesn't do shit like that randomly. King doesn't happenstance into these things. He's been doing this for way too long.
I was about to say he may have written a thing or two. So something like a tweet, he's going to know how to communicate.
He's done this for way too long. He's way too good at it. There's a hidden message right there in that first sentence to me. That I think it's a third book in the Jack story.
Yeah, I do too, but I think it's going to cross over with the Dark Tower.
I think that
world.
It's going to cross over into somewhere that are we going to see Dark Tower characters?
Yeah,
even potentially. That's where I'm also.
And that's
let's be perfectly honest. That's what I'm hoping.
And that's where I was at too, because the Peter Straub thing immediately came to mind, where it's like, hey, Peter sent me this thing, shortly before he died that gave me a basic idea of what the third book might be, and then he also said, if I end up writing it, it'll end up being a really long one. That just immediately came to my mind because we kind of, it is a spot where like the Dark Tower is a fairly closed story. Right, like went through the keyhole was a way to get back in, but like that was not necessary. Like the story had a beginning, middle, and end. Like now you could always add to stuff like that, but I don't know if it's ever going to be as like all of us are going to love it because we're Dark Tower junkies, but it's never going to like went through the keyhole doesn't feel like the other 7 books because it was like a revisiting of characters in the middle of the story rather than like a new chapter that was moving us.
And a lot of it wasn't, and almost the entire book was not them.
Yeah.
It wasn't the quartet. We had Stephen's father.
Yeah.
Wait, is it Stephen that's on a mission? Or is it Roland?
It's
a young Roland.
Roland, yeah. Yeah, with Jamie.
Yeah, out there in Debaria.
Yeah.
And then Roland then tells the story to the kid of the fairy tale.
The other story. Yeah, it's like a story within a story.
So Roland's telling a story about his past, which really not like Wizard and Glass. This has no bearing on who Roland is and why he becomes Roland.
Yeah.
This is just,
Whereas the Talisman was always kind of touted as they thought that it could be a trilogy. I think both of them over the years have said they thought there would be a trilogy. And I think both of them over the last probably decade or so in the time we've been doing this podcast have been asked repeatedly about the third book. And like it's always been like not a huge answer, but I think they both never said like, no, that story's over. They're always just like, yeah, we kind of envision another book. It just hasn't come along. So it's like that feels way more open-ended. So if it ends up being like a talisman, a third talisman book, but that is heavily crossing over a Dark Tower, like that, I would be cool with that. Now, if it's a full-on Dark Tower book as well, like Went to the Keyhole, I'm down with that too.
Oh, could you imagine that? That we're getting like an 8th Dark Tower book at the same time getting the 9th Dark Tower book at the same time getting the third talisman
in
like,
one.
Oh,
yeah, which ultimately that comes down to when he did say it'll end up being a long one too. And he's like which of course me and you are just like, Yes.
That's where we're just like,
Just took it to my veins.
Yes, give me an 800 to 1,000 page book, and I'm a happy guy. So
let's go for the record. Let's just do the longest King book of all time. No, I mean seriously though, like think about it. If you're taking his magnum opus, the Dark Tower series, and you're combining one of his better known collaborations with another author,
yeah,
and you're finishing a trilogy at the same time giving some of his most avid fans, the Dark Tower junkies like us,
yeah,
a 9th book at the same time, combining those two. Dude, that's unheard of.
Imagine
in any kind of
imagine
media.
Jack and Jake meeting.
Yeah. Well,
If there's
imagine-
time travel
Yeah.
elements of like he ends up like coming across our quartet in the midst of their journey.
Yeah.
Imagine Jake and Jack.
I'm not. Honestly, I'm not going to get my hopes up that he's going to meet the quartet.
Yeah.
Honestly, if Jack's going to come into Midworld, it would not surprise me if it's Gilead at its height. Maybe decades before Steven's even born, kind of stuff. Like
I don't know.
That's where I would expect King. I can't see Jack getting inserted into the Dark Tower story.
And also, we're not going to be having Jack as a kid anyway,
No,
right?
he's an adult.
He's an adult
right?
in the second book. So.
Yeah. So I imagine that even with the hint at Midworld encompasses a lot of territory.
Yeah.
Pun intended.
Yeah. Now, all I'm saying, Jack and Oi, or Jake and Oi, Jack and Wolf. There you go.
Wolf.
There's your quartet.
Yeah.
So, so that's a pretty big one. Probably more in the realm of books, obviously, because King, and that was the other thing we were debating with that whole string of tweets that King did over like 2 months or whatever it was. Is we're like, is this just him hyping up Flanagan's thing, or is this truly like him speaking as like a writer trying to tease us that Dark Tower is calling to him again?
Well,
we ultimately didn't know. Now this probably gives us
Yeah.
way more certainty that this isn't a Flanagan. This isn't Flanagan related. All of those tweets are culminating in this, and now it's truly telling us he's writing something that is going to include Midworld.
Well, did I say it, or did you say it, or did I just think it? That we were talking about those series of tweets, and we're just like, is he just getting excited because of Flanagan's thing, and it's going to inspire him to do something?
Yeah.
I can't remember if one of us said that, or if maybe someone in the chat said that, but
yeah.
More and more I'm looking back on that comment, I'm like, I think it did.
Because even like months before that string of tweets, he had a podcast he did, and this person asked him about Dark Tower, and he's like, I kind of just feel like that story is closed.
Yeah.
And we talked about that because it's like, honestly, I had questioned it a few episodes before that even came out, because I was like, the longest we've ever been between Dark Tower books, we're now way beyond that.
Past it.
And so it's like, is Dark Tower closed? And then like a few months or a few weeks later, whatever it was, he ended up doing that podcast and basically said that like, I don't really feel that story, I don't feel that story ever calling to me anymore. So it kind of felt like almost a book closing for the Dark Tower. And then it was fast forward a few months, and suddenly those tweets start coming out, and it's like, what the fuck, and now this. So it's just very interesting, and it's kind of what King explained in the books, and I don't remember if it was even real King or the fictitious King, where it's just like sometimes he just hears the call of the turtle. If that's how it was portrayed in the book, even though that's probably not how he truly views it. But it's like, that's why he would go years at a time not writing Dark Tower books, and then suddenly it would just, out of nowhere, he's just doing a couple random books, and then it's like, oh shit, I kind of want to go back to the Dark Tower. Like
it was always random things too. Like he would think about a train, and then it's like, Blaine is a pain, kind of like things would just start like cascading, and then that's it.
Yeah.
I honestly think I'm pretty sure that's what happened here.
Yeah.
Is that he said, no, I'm done with I'm pretty sure the Dark Tower's done. It feels pretty close, kind of thing. And then something happened with Flanagan.
I bet you. I wonder if he got a screenplay.
I wonder if he got a screenplay from Flanagan
for a couple episodes.
And King's just like, ooh, that's a good idea. Ooh, that's good. Oh, that's good. Flanagan's going to do this good. And he's like, I honestly think there might be a little bit in there with King as well, that it's like, if I write something related to the Dark Tower and put it out around the same time.
Yeah.
And they could come out at the same time as the series.
And on top of that, it gives Flanagan more to adapt.
Exactly.
Now we're talking 6 seasons instead of 5 seasons.
Let's do it.
But yeah.
Talisman and Black House are connected. They're sequel. Black House is a sequel to Talisman.
Yeah, direct sequel.
They're absolutely linked to the Dark
we
Tower
talked
universe.
about that when I read it for the first time, is it's like, the territories feel so Midworld. And
absolutely.
The whole thing feels very next door to Midworld, if it's not Midworld itself. So it's like it would be natural to see these two end up like the third Talisman book being like so heavily overlapping with Midworld. Like that would just be like peanut butter jelly. Like there's
Absolutely.
just like those just fit together. Maybe more than anything else in King's entire bibliography. I'm not sure if there's another work of his that would fit better with the Dark Tower than the Talisman books.
It's funny. I always actually expect that to be the line in book 7 when Roland's at the Tech Corporation and they're like, yeah, we found the one book in all of his works that is directly connected to the Dark Tower. I'm like, Talisman.
Yeah.
And they're like, here's Insomnia. And I'm like, what the fuck? Oh,
Yeah.
right.
I love that Roland just throws it away.
I was like, yep.
This is a distraction.
Yep.
Yeah, there is those that are like way more connected that are like legitimately like almost like you know like Insomnia, like that technically is probably proving me wrong about the Talisman. But I mean like one that's not overtly Dark Tower. Like I feel like the Talisman and Dark Tower are just so fucking close together that it's like it would make total sense to cross those over. So yeah, that's some fun stuff. We'll have to see what comes down the road, but for now, that is what King has tweeted. So
Let's do it.
Let's see. All right, let's go on over to Flanagan Corner.
Alan's asking like if Black House and Talisman are like different flavors of Coke, like vanilla Coke, peach Coke. Those are like the I'm more I could see that.
Indeed. So
Flanagan.
This may feel a little bit repetitive, but this headline is The Dark Tower is taking forever for a reason. This is by Eric Francisco from Vulture on October 20th, 2024. I did have to take his opening line because I don't want to say it's like great, because it's somewhere in the realm of like great to like almost kind of groan-worthy. But he said the article starts, the man in black fled across the desert and the gunslinger followed, and Mike Flanagan followed too.
I like it.
It's not bad. I didn't want to be like, oh, this is such a profound, amazing opening, but I was just like, oh, it's kind of fun, you know. But it's
a fun
like,
little line.
yeah. So Eric asks where the adaptation is at. It was announced in 2022, and then I have in parentheses my note saying, and he doesn't mention it, but we found out a few roundtables ago that Flanagan got the rights in early 2020, mere months after Mazzara's Amazon project was passed on. So that just proves that this marathon that Flanagan's been on is a hell of a lot longer than we've been waiting. 2 extra years. Like it's basically double the time he's been working on this that we've been sitting here going, give us some fucking announcements for Christ's sake. But he said, but we have seen very little about it since. So Flanagan was at New York Comic Con and was asked how he's trying to approach the material. And Flanagan replied, quote, "These are the questions that keep me up at night. The only way to do it is just do the books," he said, to applause. So, I mean, similar things to what we've heard previously. But then Flanagan continued and said, the thing about the Dark Tower that's so incredible is Stephen King builds an astonishing universe, and it's huge. It's populated with such a richness of characters and scale and scope eventually, but it starts with but he starts that story with one person following another person in a barren desert. It's one of the greatest opening lines of all time. That's how you do it. You start with 2 people and a simple story. One is trying to catch the other. That's it. So, I definitely love that too. And then as a Comic-Con crowd cheered, Flanagan apologized for how long the project had been in development and said, quote, "It's taking forever," he acknowledged. So, I don't know. It just felt like there was a little bit to that was a little bit new. Not like groundbreaking stuff, but it kind of, I don't know. And I always get happy when he's still talking about it because there's just this fear in me that it's going to collapse and die. So, because I don't know if I'll be able to recover if that were to happen. Like I
honestly believe that if it dies, it dies with Flanagan.
Yeah,
That's like, at that point I stop hoping. You know, like at that point it's just like, all right, Flanagan can't do it. It can't be done.
Yeah, it can't be done. Or do I even want it done at that point if it's not Flanagan? So, also, my next one here is a little bit unorthodox, but I'm sharing it because I think you might appreciate a bit of it. There was a Redditor at that New York City Comic Con. He posted on Reddit October 27th, 2024. Of course, we'll take this all with a huge grain of salt because it is Reddit, and you know, Abraham Lincoln said, "Never trust everything you read on the internet." So,
that's right.
So I figured you'd appreciate it, though. This is the guy's post verbatim. He says, "I recently got to talk to Rahul Kali and Mike Flanagan at New York Comic Con. Rahul said he's definitely going to be in it, talking about the Dark Tower series, but won't say who he'll play. We spoke of the rumors that he'd play Roland, and he immediately said, if it's only a rumor, it's not true. And I told him I thought he had the chops to play whoever Flanagan had cast him as. He has a presence about him, and he's a big dude. Whoever he is, he'll crush it. Then the next part of it, he says Mike Flanagan is a big nerd, and I say that with affection. I showed him my Mark Hamill autograph tattoo, and he peeked over at it, and we started chatting about Batman the Animated Series, which was cool. I told him that Hamill had been in my head canon Men in Black for years, and he said that while Hamill will definitely be in it, it'll likely be a smaller role due to time constraints. So if this Redditor is right, sounds like Mark Hamill and Rahul are both confirmed in the Dark Tower. I told him Hamill would make a good Crimson King, and he seemed more receptive to that. Kind of ticked off a box of how it fit. Yes, smaller role, important character, has influence throughout. And then he says, I'd love to say I'm a better poker player than I am, but I didn't get a good reader on either man to see if we were to see if anything we talked about genuinely struck. Either way, it's a lot of fun. Throw this on the pile. Rahul Kali for either Roland or Eddie. Mark Hamill is your Crimson King. I believe I may have commented on there and said he's my Blaine.
Yeah,
Mark Hamill, little, big and little, because now you're talking. You get that diversity.
He gets to play 2 different roles.
Yeah,
2 for 1.
Yeah, and it's voice acting, so it's
Mark Hamill's speciality.
Yeah, exactly.
Not that he wasn't bad in the Fall of the House of Usher.
He was
live action.
He was incredible.
He was amazing.
He may have been one of my. I think maybe I gave him my MVP for House of Usher because he was incredible.
He was on it. Baraki says Hamill might actually make a good Callahan.
Yeah, that's not a bad. That would be a bigger role though. And again, we're it's grain of salt. This is just a Redditor that claims to have been there. Although I will say, I wish Salt Lake Comic Con would fucking get Flanagan and a couple of the Flanagan family here because they do.
A couple of them came.
They do conventions. Flanagan's never been here.
No, Flanagan hasn't, but a couple. I think Raul came.
I don't know.
This year.
I want Flanagan and Kate, because those are 2 peas in a pod there. I want them because I would love to, even for a second, be able to talk Dark Tower with them. So, but now in the Flanagan corner, I was trying to figure out the best way to approach this. But
is this the one?
This is a big one. Yes. Okay. There's a new Amazon project.
Okay.
With Mike Flanagan.
Okay.
And it is Stephen King related.
But not the Dark Tower.
It is Carrie.
What?
Yep, Carrie series in the works at Amazon from Mike Flanagan. So this is from Rick Porter from The Hollywood Reporter on October 21st, 2024. So this is Carrie getting its 4th or 5th adaptation, depending on if you count the horrible movie The Rage Carrie 2 or not. I generally don't, so I would call this the 4th Carrie adaptation. So Amazon MGM Studios is developing a drama based on the 1974 novel. Mike Flanagan is adapting the book as well as serving as showrunner and executive producer, along with his partner Trevor Macy. If it was picked up, it would obviously be on Amazon Prime. He's previously done Gerald's Game, Dr. Sleep, and the upcoming Life of Chuck. Amazon MGM described the project as, quote, a bold and timely reimagining of the story, which centers on a high school Carrie White who is bullied at home by her religious nut mother and at school by cruel classmates. Let's see. First of all, so that's kind of the gist of what the article is. So what's your initial thoughts there?
Okay.
I will say this is probably one of the more mixed reactions I've seen on the King realm. I would say it was almost half and half. Some people were absolutely pissed at this because, some people are like, with all so many Carrie adaptations, why do we need another one?
That's my first thought is
it's not Dark Tower. Some people are upset by that.
Yeah,
where it's like
we have Flanagan who's ready to make the Dark Tower or getting closer to making the Dark Tower, but The Exorcist is in the way now.
Yeah.
Carrie series. What series? What limited series? Seasons?
I guess it doesn't really say.
That's where it gets confusing. Now
I would guess it's probably a limited series. I can't imagine you could stretch this more than. But it kind of makes me wonder, what approach he'll take to fit. Are you gonna stretch out to where it's you're going to see more of the school year and because obviously we've seen it adapted in more of the film realm. I mean, it's not been done on television before, but my note here. So the first thing, let's look at it like we always do with everything from the perspective of the Tower. I will say I'm not sure if it's Tower reasoning, but the reaction to the King verse is very mixed. There's a lot of negativity. One complaint a lot of constant readers had: this is the 4th or 5th adaptation. Why are we doing this again? But here's my theory. If this is ultimately the first fruits of Amazon's overall deal with Flanagan. They signed him in 2022.
Yeah.
They've yet to have anything come of that yet. Right, The Exorcist, Life of Chuck, nothing that he's worked on up to this point. I mean, I know those aren't even out yet, but it's like Life of Chuck just got purchased by Neon. Like, that's not going to be distributed by Amazon. It was done independently during the strikes and stuff. So it's the first thing that they would be getting from Intrepid and Mike Flanagan. So it is their first big return on their investment, but I suspect this might actually be a trial balloon for Amazon. Because if he wants this Dark Tower project, which is very big, very expensive, it's Stephen King, are they potentially looking at this going, okay, let's get you something a little bit smaller, something that's got way more built-in cachet, but prove yourself. You've done Stephen King movies before, and we can't pretend, as brilliant as Dr. Sleep is, that Dr. Sleep didn't tank at the box office.
Yeah.
So, it might be kind of a prove me thing. Prove it to me. It's like, we're going to give you Carrie, do a limited series. That'll be our first Amazon deal with Mike Flanagan, and it's King. And it's like, if it ends up executed well, we could see how you work. Because that's the other thing. They haven't worked with him. Netflix, they kind of had a repertoire with him where it's like, we've worked with you a number of times. We know what you're going to fucking do. Here's your check. Go make Fall of the House of Usher.
Make me money.
Yeah, it's like, we don't fucking care. We know what you're going to do. But Amazon, they can't they know he was successful, but they don't know what it's like to work with him directly. So I kind of wonder if this might be a trial balloon of
could be
prove it to us.
I think I said it back when Flanagan was announced to go with Amazon, and then we found out that he had the Dark Tower rights. Those were pretty close together.
Yeah,
I don't remember which one came. I'm pretty sure the Amazon deal came first. Because that's where you started saying, like, well, it makes sense. He just signed with Amazon.
No, Amazon came first, and then the Dark Tower one came out because he mentioned in that article with Deadline or whatever
that it's not included.
That the Dark Tower was kept separate from the Amazon.
And so that's where I was saying back then, which was 2 years ago, that he's going to have to do something for Amazon first.
Yeah,
and like you just said, giving like the summary, he hasn't yet.
Yeah,
2 years and they've had zero return on it.
Yeah, but you have writer strikes. Like
there's extenuating circumstances. Amazon's not going to be pissed at Flanagan.
No,
but
and who knows?
It's gonna come due. Like, hey, I put you on this project. Hey, I'm the editor of this newspaper, Tad. I put you on this project to write this article, and I haven't got it. Like, let's go.
Yeah,
you're not in trouble. Like, things happened. Like, you got pulled and you had to go do this and you had to go do that and everything. But okay, it's time to let's do.
And it's a first look deal, which means that they could even get a pitch and not like it and let him take it elsewhere.
Yeah.
What they're basically paying for is they get the first refusal, right? You've got to bring it to us first. If we say no, then you can go shop it elsewhere.
Yeah.
But we gotta have the first pick basically on it. So it's not even that you have to always have something that truly is coming out of it. Of course, that's what they would want. But if everything that Flanagan comes up with at first isn't to their liking, they'll let him shop it elsewhere and whatever. Obviously, that doesn't really work with Life of Chuck was independent. The Exorcist is its own fucking beast that he was signed on to. So
neither of those are Amazon.
Exactly. So I mean, me, Dark Tower wise, I had a little bit of disappointment that it wasn't Dark Tower that we're getting an announcement on. But I will say there's part of me that's like, if there's one person that I want to see Carrie from again, because I get it too, because there's been a lot of Carrie adaptations, but it's like, if there's one person on this planet that I'm happy to watch another Carrie, it's Mike Flanagan.
Yeah.
Because it's like, he's done so good at everything that it's like, and because I can even wonder, is he going to approach it from the investigator's perspective, the way the book's written, and it's like,
where it's back and forth.
Yeah, bouncing back and forth between the investigation.
That's one way that you can make it into a limited series, is if you do more of the investigating, the White Commission.
Yeah,
I think is what it's called
in
the book.
Do you like True Detective, where as you're seeing it, you got Matthew McConaughey at the table talking to the you have the detectives bringing survivors in, and
well, it would be it's like a Senate commission kind of thing. You have the people up there, and then they come in and they testify to them.
Yeah,
and everything, and that's where Sue Snell. The one survivor really from the class.
Yeah.
And there's other survivors, but she's the one that was involved with Carrie and what happened and everything. Inadvertently, helped create this tragedy.
Yeah.
And she was there giving her testimony and everything. That's something that's never been seen before. I don't think any adaptation has covered the White Commission.
No.
So
I'm trying to remember if any have even shown her destroying the house. Because a lot of it
in the original one, the house is gone. She goes to the empty lot, and that's the end of the movie. As the hand comes out of the thing,
but she doesn't destroy the house herself. Though.
But that's in the dream.
Yeah.
Because then Sue wakes up, right?
Because I feel like it's, especially in the De Palma one, I believe it's pretty centralized on the school. There's very little. I mean, there's the car that she goes after outside the school.
The De
but it's
Palma
like,
one, the house gets destroyed.
I didn't think it, like we see her destroy it though, because that's
Yeah.
a big part of the book where she like rains the shit down on it and stuff,
Yeah.
whatever. So I mean,
You're talking Carrie, not Sue, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Also, just knee jerk reaction. What Flanagan family do you?
Oh fuck! I didn't even think about that. Kate Siegel's the mom.
Here's the main thing. Let's just here. Maybe this is what we'll do. Let's just talk about knee jerk reaction, the mom, and then next round table at the end of the month, we'll maybe go a little bit more in depth. Like we'll have some other topics, but like I don't know if the news has been either feast or famine, so I don't want to like count on like whatever. So we'll have to have a lot of discussion topics in case there's not a lot of news at the end of the month. But let's just talk Carrie's mom for now.
Well, the problem is that we got to be a little bit more honest with ourselves. There's not a ton of adult roles in Carrie.
Yeah,
unless you're looking at
that's the interesting part.
Unless you're looking at Henry Thomas being Sue Snell's dad, and
you got
Raul is a teacher, or the principal,
That's probably what we're gonna have to do. Is you're probably gonna see most of it in smaller roles like that. But Carrie's mom is probably the big one.
Carrie's mom is the big
I would
one.
say Kate
and the gym teacher.
Yeah, I just blanked on her name, but the Bev from Midnight Mass.
Yeah,
there's those two.
Bev would make an amazing Margaret White, but she's already been that kind of character in Midnight Mass.
And then I think there's a third one because there were some people debating about online. Because I was actually saying I want to see it Kate because I feel that she has not played a role like that, whereas Bev. I wish I knew the actor's name. I'm sorry, I don't have it in front of me.
What character?
Bev from Midnight Mass. She's been in it, and she was the older boy's wife in Haunting a Hill House.
Leah. What's her name in Midnight Mass?
In Hill House.
Samantha Sloyan?
Yeah. So there's her, and there's another Flanagan regular that people were debating. But for me, I think it's got to be Kate because Kate has not played a role like that yet, whereas like Bev kind of has. She's played the religious fanatic.
Yeah.
And whoever the third one that people were debating on, I was just like, they had also kind of played that like that shitty person. Carla Gugano from the mom from Hill House.
Yeah.
It's like she's not a terrible person, but by the end, man, she's like so fucked up by everything going on. She's kind of plays that bad parent that's kind of out there. So that was like the three that people are debating. But for me, my money, Kate Siegel, because
that's the first thought I had. Because Kate should be Margaret.
Yeah, because it's the most interesting. Because
Well,
I think
she's
the other two ladies could kill it, but they've both played similar enough that it's like, give me Kate because she's not done that before. So
yeah.
Let's see. What am I missing in the chat here?
Baraki was saying that Mark Hamill is would be a good choice for voice of. Alan said voice of Andy, and Baraki agreed. Andy is one of those characters you love to hate. One of the reasons I love Book 5 so much. And then Alan says, "What an amazing death." I don't know who he's referring to.
Yeah, unless it's Bev from Midnight Mass.
Yeah,
that is a pretty great death. Let's see. Toni Collette should play Carrie's mom. Now that is an amazing pick. Not the Flanagan family, but that is an amazing.
Oh, he's talking about Andy's death.
Oh, Andy. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, would it be too on the nose to get Anthony Daniels to voice Andy? C-3PO. Would that be too on the nose?
A little too on the nose.
So let's. I'll save the rest. But what we could talk about.
The problem is that you're looking at high schoolers for a majority of the cast.
Yeah, I don't think
there's not a ton of. That's what I'm saying. Is there's not a ton that you can be like, yeah, Henry Thomas is going to play Tommy. Like,
no, yeah,
you know,
yeah, no, it won't be like as extensive as maybe some of our other dream castings.
Robert has a good question that we could. I'm gonna put that on for that episode. I'm gonna write that down. What time period? 70s, 80s, present day?
Yeah, they said a bold and timely reimagining of the story is what Amazon said. So that kind of gave me the vibe that it might not be set in the older days.
There was the Carrie remake in 2013.
Yeah.
That was set in the present day and had one of the greatest social media uses.
Yeah.
And I love that they used that against the bully.
Yeah. So yeah, that's definitely an interesting one. Also, I don't have it here, but we could talk about it more extensively on Geekery Abides because it's not really King related.
Yeah.
Flanagan may have signed it with another movie as well.
God damn it, Flanagan.
And I'm not saying maybe he did indeed sign another movie. We'll talk about it on Geekery Abides because it has nothing to do with Stephen King. But yeah, so you've now got The Exorcist, this other movie. It's called Eulogy, and then you've got Carrie series. So here's that's the reason I took that earlier article that with Flanagan talking like, sorry it's taken so long, because I did want to kind of ground everyone to the fact that this is a very big fucking project. And I do think that Flanagan is working on it. And I don't think that – I know we haven't heard him say – I think it was after The Exorcist where he's like, don't worry, The Exorcist is not going to get in the way of The Dark Tower. The Dark Tower is a very – it's like a fucking – I think he said like it's like an oil tanker. It's like getting an oil tanker going takes time. And he's like – so it's not – I have a feeling that still stands with these other projects. And again, I truly believe this is a test balloon for Amazon where they're like – you're asking for hundreds of millions of dollars for this Dark Tower show, like,
and you've given us nothing so far.
Well, not just that, but just prove it. Your Last King thing flopped at the box office. Again, that's all they care about. Us, we love the art, so we look at it like, dude, Doctor Sleep's one of the best King adaptations in 20 years.
Yeah.
They don't think that way. They're thinking dollars and cents. So they're like, hey, prove it to us. We'll get one of the most iconic King stories and do it for us in probably a limited series would be my suspicion, because I don't see how you can stretch that into multiple seasons. Do that. If we work well with you on it, you prove like that you come in like under budget, on time, it ends up being good, and then you get viewers, you get your check for Dark Tower. That's my suspicion. There's no truth. There's nothing that's reporting that. It just feels like that to me, and it's happened all the time. I mean, sometimes studios don't make people do that, but they'll see like George Lucas never would have got Star Wars except for American Graffiti was successful, and one dude at Fox is like, American Graffiti wasn't a bad movie, and now he's pitching me this sci-fi thing. It's like, you know what, American Graffiti was good enough. Yeah, I'll give you a shot on this.
Yeah, and it's not like they gave him the bank,
No, there was a pretty limited budget.
Yeah,
so.
Exactly. So, a couple things in the chat. Alan says, "I'd say the low men are doing their job and holding up the process for the Dark Tower." And then the Alan also asked, a real present day or a facade of present day? Baraki responds to that and says, trying to think how real present day would affect the story. Robert says, social media, Ring cameras, slapping students just off the top of my head. I'll tell you right now.
Can you imagine the cell phone footage of the fucking rampage? Like, especially when it gets out into the town. Imagine just cutting from like the Hollywood Flanagan camera to Ring cameras to an iPhone video, like just then it suddenly turns into almost like Cloverfield, where it's like this disaster and you're seeing it from all these different angles.
Well, I still wonder if you're talking what you were talking about earlier is what we get with this is that you do the commission. And it's like, okay, well, we have this video to watch. Can you explain to us what's happening? You recorded this video, and it's someone's iPhone footage, And
I kind of wonder, Flanagan's so good at capturing what the book actually was. I kind of my suspicion is it'll end up being like the book, where it's like you're almost seeing it from the future, like, and they're looking back on it, and you'll flash back and see all the stuff happening, but it'll kind of be like that True Detective where it's flashing back and forth in time, and it's investigating the events or whatever.
I would love if people lied, and then when you went to the flashback,
you see the truth.
Yeah. It's like, oh, I never treated Carrie bad, and you see the girl like shoulder check Carrie into the fucking lockers,
Yeah.
Or she's right there in the front yelling at her to plug it up, like stuff like that. Because it's just going to make you hate the characters, right?
Yes, absolutely.
And that's the thing is, like, there's like one, like Sue is like really, and the gym teacher maybe, are like the two characters that you're like, okay, I can get behind these characters. All the rest of them, even some people we've had an argument about whether or not Carrie Wright's a villain.
Yeah.
So, it's just like.
Just a thing just hit me. With Midnight Mass, he built that town out. Yeah. Maybe he does that. And that's where the Flanagan family is.
Give us some more of the town.
You start to see, like, who's Carrie's neighbor, who's the person that lives right by the fucking school that's house is going to get. Like, you build this out to where when that shit
neighbor that gives the testimony about how Carrie's mom reacted to 3-year-old Carrie seeing her teenage daughter sunbathing without a top on.
Yeah, like just go through all that to where like then when that fucking crescendo happens, it's not just some random house or a random car or a random lady that's like with her groceries at a bus stop. Like
you're like, that's Mrs. Smith's house.
Yeah, you know all these people and you've seen them. Like, and that's kind of what Midnight Mass did so well, right? Like we spent a lot of time getting to know people that really weren't as big a part of the story, but it's because then when all that shit went down toward the end, it was more meaningful. Maybe that's what Flanagan's going to do.
Baraki says, "I hope it's hard R like the original."
Oh,
I mean,
if it's on Amazon.
It's a series, so yeah, we're ready for
Amazon that has The Boys.
Yes,
let's just say that I don't think that they're
going to shy away from any of those issues.
The ratings are going to matter. In fact, there was something that we covered on Geekery Abides where somebody was doing something for Amazon, and they're like, they came to us and said, "Do you want to be more violent and brutal?" Like, you totally can.
Yeah,
like it's almost like they were asking them to be more violent and stuff.
Alice says, "Please, the real R without being jerky about it. LOL. Make things scary and non-clownish." Pun. And then he asked, "Is it a Dark Tower character?" No. Pennywise has never been confirmed as a Dark Tower.
That is a good segue because next up we got is our first look at Welcome to Derry.
All right.
So. I agree.
This is just for you, Alan.
I agree. I don't think that Pennywise is a Dark Tower.
That's the fucking black spot.
You're gonna enjoy this,
dude. I'm gonna fucking geek out right here. Let's go.
It Welcome to Derry. So they've retitled it now. It's called It Welcome to Derry because they're fucking cowards. I hate that shit when they have to force the fucking name into something. Dude, they've been calling it Welcome to Derry for like a year now. And now suddenly they got whatever. I get it, but like it annoys me. Exclusive first look confirms the black spot and other horrors of Derry's history. This is by Nick Romano from Entertainment Weekly, October 31st, 2024. Not a bad day to release a article. Let me get the slideshow. I think I actually have it set to just cycle through, so I'll just hit play on it. So now it's going to cycle every whatever, and you'll see all the pictures from the articles on the screen. If you're listening on the podcast side, just check the show notes. You can find the article, click on it, and go over and get it there. I try not to post pictures on there anymore because I keep getting like emails from people saying that's our picture, you can't put it on your website. So just click the link and go look at the pictures there rather than posting them. The article starts by recapping that in the second interlude of It, the It novel, Mike goes to the hospital to visit his cancer-stricken father, and his father tells him stories that he had long held from him, starting with his days in the Air Force, where he and some other black airmen built the Black Spot, which was later burned down by a white supremacist group, killing a number of people. Included in the story is a large bird snatching a victim in the chaos of the fire. So that is just one of many stories found in the interludes that interrupt the stories of the younger and older losers clubs. And that is what has become the inspiration for It, Welcome to Derry. And EW has an exclusive first look. I'm sorry, is it not playing? There we go. Let me...
Oh, is there a slideshow?
There's multiple pictures.
Oh, I only have the one.
Yeah, I know. Let me see if it's... Am I...
Are you clicking the right screen?
There we go. Yes, it's changing on its own now. So it should just hold for a bit and then cycle to multiple pictures. So we got a quote here. That's the Pennywise.
That's the wagon.
This is a quote from Andy Muschietti and Barbara, his sister. This is, I think it was sent via email, so it's both of them kind of talking. So this is a book that we loved a lot, and we felt that there was still a lot of story to be covered. The director of the two movies, Andy Muschietti, and his longtime producing partner, Barbara, tell EW over email, it's so rich with the characters and events, we thought we would do justice to the book and the fans by just going back in this world. Specifically, we were telling the story of the interludes written by Mike Hanlon based on the investigation that includes interviews he conducted with older people in the town. In Welcome to Derry, we touch on the usual themes that were talked about in the movies: friendship, loss, the power of unified belief. But this story focuses also on the use of fear as a weapon, which is one of the things that is very relevant in our time. So they shift the films decades later than the novel, and this follows suit. Whereas the Black Spot in this show is going to take place in 1962, whereas it took place in the 1930s in the novel. So that's going to be that would be 27 years before the first It film. So that's your 27-year cycle. So, quote, 27 years is the dormant period of Pennywise, Muschietti's right, because it could be both of them. It's a different part of the American history with a new set of fears of children, as well as adults having a mind that is in mind the costs of the Cold War. Our baseline is 1962, but we do a few jumps to the past. Every 27 years when it appears, its cycle is marked by 2 catastrophic events, one at the beginning and one at the end. We're using the Black Spot as an event in which many of the stories are built around. So it sounds like the Black Spot's going to kind of be the central thing.
The linchpin.
This also starts to make sense because we kept hearing that it was going to take place in the early 60s, and we're like, what? Like how? Because
the 80s is the first cycle.
Well, yeah, and
Georgie,
and they said that like it'd be in the 60s, but it would be just like looking into Pennywise's origins, and we're like, how does that work? But this all makes sense now. What we were learning is that the baseline of the story is 1962, and the Black Spot happens. I'm guessing Mike's dad is going to be the one doing the investigating, and we're going to end up going flashing back in time to see earlier and earlier events. So that's my guess. So Jovan Adepo and Taylor Page lead the ensemble cast, and aside from Bill Skarsgård with the role, most of the roles of the characters are being kept under wraps. But one of the images given to EU shows Adepo in an Air Force uniform with the name Hanlon on it, so he is clearly playing Will Hanlon, with Page most likely playing his wife. Quote, we don't want to spoil too much, but we'll say that the Hanlon family is involved, they tease. So Welcome to Derry will premiere on HBO and stream on Max in 2025, and Annie directs 4 out of the 9 episodes, including the premiere. Though King fans have a bit of a weight on their hands, the filmmakers aren't ready to reveal all their tricks yet. Quote, we will explore the origins of Pennywise, they said, but a lot like the books, we will do it with a healthy dose of crypticism. So it'll be somewhat cryptic. So, yeah, kind of cool, though. We got our first looks. I mean, we've obviously seen some set photos with, like, the 1960s cars on the street and stuff. Yeah. So, but now to actually see, like, characters, you got, obviously, there's just on the screen a second ago there, you got some kids, a whole set of kids there. So I'm guessing that Hanlon's dad will probably be the main character, but you're also going to flash to in that same time period and flash to a group of kids that are probably going to end up Pennywise food would be my guess. Because I imagine the losers are one of the few groups that, I mean, not that they can't survive, but I don't think they're going to fight and beat it or anything like that.
Yeah, so they can't conquer it, they can't beat it unless
they can hopefully escape him.
The thing is that the Losers Club thought they won too.
Yeah, it's true.
So
that's true.
They just, maybe this group just didn't make a promise to come back. Brocky points out there is a nice shot Easter egg to JFK in one of the photos.
Oh, yeah?
In the background.
Oh, the Kennedy picture?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, which would make sense. In 62, Kennedy would have been president.
Yep.
But yeah, that's where Bev sees, well, they all see Pennywise, but Bev sees him do the dances.
Yeah.
So that looks like he's down there. I'm pretty excited. These first looks are incredible. I figured you'd geek out quite a bit here. So
it's interesting, like the whole 27 years before the 1980s, which is when the movies are set. So it's gonna be fairly interesting to see that. But I mean, the rampant racism and everything, we're gonna have the
civil rights era,
exactly.
Yeah, that's what I immediately thought with the Black Spot is, I was like, the 30s makes sense because there was a big heated, because it seems like racism, it always existed, but there was flashpoints when it got really intense, and it happened in the 30s. But it's the 60s, 62,
that's right smack dab in the middle of the biggest one in American history,
the civil rights era.
That's
you're gonna see a lot of pushback on it. So the Black Spot totally makes sense in that time period.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I'm pretty excited for this. I mean, I already was, but now to actually get a little bit more detail on what we're going to be seeing, mm-hmm. and that makes sense now that I'm guessing Mike's dad's going to investigate, and through that we're going to start to see previous events. I don't think we're going to be all in 62. I think we're going to be jumping around some timelines. We're going to get
the Woodcutters Lodge and the missing townspeople.
The Easter egg thing.
All of those. All of them.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So
Kitchener Ironworks,
Easter
egg hunt.
Yeah, just all of it. So pretty cool. Pretty cool to see a lot of it. That one probably geeked me out the most, just seeing the Pennywise trailer thing behind him with the uniform. The Black Spot, you geeked out when you first saw the picture because...
it's the Air Force. That means it's got to be the Black Spot, right?
Which means that Dick Halloran
potentially
might be showing up.
I mean, if it's on Max, Dr. Sleep and is
Warner Brothers.
Warner Brothers, so
yeah,
they would have the
the rights
to a Dick Halloran cameo.
Yes, indeed,
or major part of the series because he was part of the band. He was there. He was one of the guys. So.
Yeah.
We could potentially have Dick Halloran be a major part of the show.
Yeah, that's exciting.
Dude, that'd be really cool.
So we got more news here. Moving on here. A24 revives Stephen King's fantasy epic Fairy Tale. Paul Greengrass cracking a 10-episode series with Fringe showrunner J.H. Wyman. So this is by Mike Fleming Jr. from Deadline on October 16th, 2024. So A24 has taken the King bestseller fairy tale, the dark fantasy, and is going to be adapting it into a 10-episode series. Paul Greengrass, who wrote the script, because if we all recall, back in 22, Paul Greengrass got the rights for this and was going to be making it into a film. So this is kind of an interesting thing that now we're suddenly talking about it as a series. So Paul Greengrass, who wrote the script and was going to direct the feature film, is likely still in the middle of this adaptation as it moves away from the big screen to the small screen. He will work with J.H. Wyman, who is going to help him expand the scripts out into a miniseries. Wyman will be the showrunner with his previous credits including Fringe, Almost Human, and Debris. I'm not familiar with any of those shows, but I do know back in the day I had some friends when Fringe was on that were fucking obsessed with that show.
I watched the first season and a half or so of that show. Kind of X-Files-ish.
Yeah, exactly. It feels like my monitor's like tilty.
Uh-oh.
I don't know why.
That's not good.
All right, so that should be fixed now. So the novel had a bidding battle back in 2022, and Universal came in on top due to their close collaboration with Greengrass, who did the Bourne movies, Flight 93, and News of the World for Universal. The book was 600 pages and dense and was not ultimately able to fit into a 2-hour movie, which I was actually confused about when they originally announced that. I'm like, how are you going to make this a movie?
That's a long book to put into a movie. There's a lot that happens.
And sometimes there's like long books, but you can kind of condense them down into a film. Like it's doable. But watching,
like Carrie's not that long, and just taking out the trial stuff makes it that it's okay. That's perfect for a 90-minute movie.
Yeah, but the fairy tale, that not only is it long, it's dense as fuck. There's a lot of stuff going
you can
on.
Just chop out.
No, exactly. Yeah. So Universal, when they figured that out, decided to let it go. Peter Rice, who will be one of the executive producers, had read and loved the book and was able to cobble something together with A24 to keep the project alive because it would have otherwise died. Which also makes me kind of wonder about all those things that we've had announced over the years, because that was only 2 years ago. So within 2 years, they found, we can't do this, and it was pretty much dead. And the only reason it's not dead is A24 was brought in.
Did we hear that it was dead?
This, no.
Okay.
But all I'm saying is, like, I'm going to show the big board in a second.
Yeah.
All those things that have been announced
sitting
over
there.
the years and sitting there, it's like, I wonder how many of them are actually dead and we're just haven't heard about it.
That's what I was gonna ask. That's why my question about, did we hear that this was dead before this article and everything like that?
No.
Okay.
No.
I was starting to feel a little guilty that I was just like totally like, because I love fairy tale. I'm just like,
no, and this,
man, how did I miss that?
And it was only 2 years ago, so it's not even like it's been sitting on the shelf for so long that we started to worry. It's more of just like, oh yeah, they're writing the script and whatever. They're going to plan out. I mean, the strikes all happen and shit, but it's like, it's not been that long ago. So to find out all this happened is kind of shocking, because it's like, God, that was a short amount of time to find out that this can't be a thing. So Fairy Tale follows a 17-year-old boy who inherits the keys to a portal and enters a terrifying world where good and evil are at war. The stakes of both worlds are immense. The magic in the tale is King taking his time to frame out the world of the teen Charlie Reed, and the kindness he extends to the that eventually rewards him with the magical sundial that gains him entry into the portal. That leads to an epic battle of good and evil, but that doesn't happen until about 100 pages in. As happened with King's tales like The Stand, this just works better in long-form storytelling is kind of which I agree. So, and A24, that's a pretty good production company. Going from Universal to them, that might be kind of an upgrade in my mind. So, very interesting though.
Not the atypical what I think of with A24. I think of horror films.
Yeah, more so for sure. They do
Hereditary, Midsummer, right?
Yeah, they do some stuff non-horror, but they're certainly more known for their horror. So here's our big board. I did.
That's above me.
What?
On the cameras.
Oh.
I'm doing a Brady Bunch joke.
Yeah, look down. So I moved Fairy Tale over. I did rearrange a couple things. So I wanted to make sure the like on the movie side to get some of the stuff that's a little bit more upcoming. The Monkey, The Running Man, and Life of Chuck. I rearranged them so those three are right up front because those are probably the most fast moving. And then Fairy Tale ended up moving down. I have it lit up in red. So that is where our big board's at. God knows how many things if Fairy Tale lived and died apparently in 2 years. Some of these things like Rat that was done pre-COVID, it kind of makes me wonder if that's still a thing with Ben Stiller.
You got to move the Dark Tower down. That's obviously not happening anytime soon.
Hey, that'll always be in that spot. So, until the day the first episode airs, that stays there.
And it's called It Welcome to Derry. You got to get the title right.
You go to hell. So that
see, I know how to poke Tad every now and then.
It just annoys me.
I know.
I don't know why they have to do that shit. Like
It's,
Derry,
dude, it's branding, man. Like people are not that smart.
The Sopranos.
Okay,
They put the gun with the R so people would know it's not a fucking show about singers.
right.
That's all they had to do. Welcome to Derry with a red fucking balloon in the middle of the logo. All you fucking need to do.
Hey.
It is so iconic.
I'm just saying,
it's
Pirates of the Caribbean 3 still has Pirates of the Caribbean in the name. So,
like the glass onion, where they glass onion, a Knives Out tale. Dude, fuck off. I hate that. It's just fucking terrible. All right.
what's the third one called?
I don't know if they've announced the title or not. I'm pretty excited
okay.
for it, though. Josh Brolin is signed on for it, so I'm excited to
Dude,
see.
Thanos.
Yeah,
Cable?
indeed. Drax is in the last one.
Yeah.
Dave Bautista was in the second one. That was
Dave
pretty
Bautista was fucking great in that movie.
He's great in everything. Dude.
He is.
He really is.
Dude, the fucking thing you sent me, I gotta geek out for a second. The fucking thing you sent me like a week and a half ago about him playing Hugo Strange in a Batman adaptation. Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. All right, so let's jump on over to the.
Brocky says go Tad. Alan says go Peter. We're splitting the chat.
Oh man. So this next one's interesting. There's a lot of news on this. The Running Man. So it got its release date, and the cast is growing. So basically, I had like 6 news articles for this, and I didn't want to just cover 6 articles. So I condensed it all into one. So I don't think I've ever seen it on the screen before, where it says by various from various through October. Because basically during the course of October, there were 6 articles that came out, including our release date, and then a bunch of castings. So I just combined it all together. It is filming next week.
Wow.
So I'll spoil that. That's at the end of the article. That next week they begin filming in London. So
London.
Yeah. So I know I'm cobbling a bunch together, but that's why. First, super exciting is that we got a release date, and shockingly, it is in 2025.
Hey, that's what we were hoping for.
Yeah,
because that's the year that the novel takes place.
That's when it takes place. But I was getting so paranoid where it's like, dude, they're not filming yet. How the fuck are they going to be able to film and turn it around and get it out? Like, and I remember even saying, like, if it comes out in 2025, it's going to be the end of 2025. There's no chance it's going to be a summer movie. There's just no time.
No.
So November 21st, 2025, to be more specific, is the date. We were getting so late in the year, I was just starting to give up hope that we'd be able to land on that. It takes place in 2025, and it'll come out in 2025, which
gonna be great.
Still makes me happy. So previously, we know that Glenn Powell was attached in the lead role, and then on October 4th, when the release date was announced, we also got announced that Kathy O'Brien. Let me go over to the slide because I've got different images for each of these articles to show who's who. Caddy O'Brien has been cast in the film. She is known for Love Lies Bleeding, but we also know her as an Imperial officer from The Mandalorian.
Oh, okay.
Looking at her, you know immediately who I'm talking about.
Yeah.
She was great in The Mandalorian. I wanted to see that Love Lies Bleeding, but I ended up not seeing it because it wasn't in theaters long enough, but I need to check it out. So no word on her role. And then next, on the 17th of October, speaking of Mr. Josh Brolin was announced to be in the film. He is cast in a villainous role. It is being kept under wraps, but the talk and speculation is that he's going to be playing the character behind the violent reality show that the main character is involved in. He's the
network goon.
Yeah, the top, not goon, but the top, like
the executive.
The executive dude. Yeah. So how perfect is that?
I mean, it fits.
And we're not going to get into spoilers because I know we had some people in the last couple months that were going to read it still. Like we warned them don't read the intro because King spoils it. I wonder, though, if they're going to end it the way the book ends. That's all I'm going to say.
It's a question. That's always going to be a question going forward in this world.
Yeah, so then the next day on the 18th of October, it was announced that Lee Pace would also landed a role as a villain in the film. Lee is most widely known as playing Ronan the Accuser in Marvel Cinematic Universe.
That's Ronan?
Yeah.
Not what I would have pictured after all the blue makeup came off. All right.
It's like, what's her name? Gamora? No, the other one, the sister.
Nebula.
Yeah, and she's in the Mike Flanagan.
She's also very big in the Jumanji movies.
Like, I saw her the
Karen
first time.
Gillan.
Karen Gillan. I couldn't place her name.
Yeah.
I remember the first time I saw her, I'm like, That's not what I would have guessed.
That's not what I thought Nebula would look like without the blue. Without the blue, that's a thing because you got Avatar, you got Ronan the Accuser, you got Nebula. Why is everyone blue? Why can't we have some other colors, guys?
Yeah. This also says in passing that O'Brien is playing another contestant on the game. So.
Oh no.
That's interesting.
Are we gonna have multiple runners, or is it?
Or a previous one, maybe. Maybe she's the first, the one that's happening before he gets brought in.
He is.
No, Katie.
Oh, Katie might be, yeah.
Kate, it says this that's talking about Lee Pace mentions Katie, and says that she'll play another contestant. So it's like not even the article about her. Her article said there's no role specified, but then this one's like she's playing another contestant. It's like, okay, don't know what that means.
Imagine if they have multiple runners at the same time.
Could be, or it could be the setup, right? You gotta show the audience like what this truly is, and what
here's the last 3 runners we caught.
Or what better way than it starts up with like her on the run, kind of the Trinity scene with like Trinity on the run from the agents, but then she gets got and like then like flash out and show it's on TV and people are watching it and like see Glenn Powell's character like, oh, I need to do this. My kid's sick or something, right?
Yeah.
So Pace is going to be playing the heavy of the movie, the Chief Hunter for the network game. So he'll do good at that.
Yeah.
He'll do good at that. And then the one that excites me maybe the most on October 28th, it was announced. Oh, God,
did they announce Gary Oldman?
No, they announced the Shoveler.
Hey, Macy.
William H. Macy. And this actually has multiple castings in it. He was the headline, but there's some others that get included here. The article, so William H. Macy, Shoveler, if you're a Mystery Men fan, which of course.
I shovel very well.
He'll always be the Shoveler to me. He's a brilliant actor. I'm not trying to like whatever, but that movie is where I came to know him.
Yeah.
So the article also mentions Amelia Jones from the Oscar award-winning Coda film has been cast, as well as Michael Cera.
Oh.
Which that's Edgar Wright.
Yeah.
He's only been in Scott Pilgrim, so I can't say he's a regular but he's a repeated. Now he's a repeated Edgar Wright person. It says that the Shoveler will be playing a man who is assisting Richards while he is on the run. So I believe I remember that character,
like a handler,
someone that's kind of like help because like you're supposed to turn him in and shit, but like there's the few that break the rules and don't. So
it's been a minute since I've read The Running Man. It was like if you turn them in, you get prize money. That was like an incentive.
Yeah,
but I don't think it was illegal to help them though. I don't think it was like a crime or anything like that.
Yeah, I don't remember. But I thought there was because I thought there was kind of like a resistance element of like we're not doing it because we don't believe in this type stuff, and I thought there was repercussions. But we'll see. Sarah will be playing a naive rebel who tries to help the desperate Richards, and Jones plays a privileged woman who is blind to the oppression of the government. The last article said that the film begins filming next week in London, so that's it makes sense if they're filming next week that all of October is when the castings start getting filled out because you're going to start shooting next week.
Hey, you're going to need to be in London next.
So
in the second week of November.
But that is a damn stacked cast. I mean, Glenn Powell is. I know some people are getting tired of him already because he's kind of been in every movie,
everything.
But he's got a charisma. He's
got a star power
that's incredible. And then Katie O'Brien, Josh Brolin, Lee Pace, and the show. Like, oh my God, dude, that's
a cast.
That's a good cast, man. And then Edgar Wright, like that like Edgar just
I forgot that Edgar Wright was directing this.
Oh, I should have mentioned that because that's probably the thing I'm most excited about is Edgar Wright. And he's also his starting point for it was, hey, I read the book when I was younger, and I remember watching the Arnold movie and going, oh, that's not the book. And then over the years, he's been like, they've still never made even another like Oculus, right? Flanagan wanted to do 1408 and couldn't get the rights, so just did Oculus. And it's like when you look at it and you're like, oh yeah, I could see where that's kind of 1408. Nobody's even done that. Nobody's taken like even just a base principle, changed it up a bit, and done some other random movie.
Yeah.
It's just not been done. And I remember him being like, I was thinking about that, and then somebody called me and said, hey, you ever thought about doing The Running Man? He's like, you know what? I actually have. So I'm pretty excited because he's a wonderful filmmaker. So we'll have to see if Nick Frost or
Simon
Pegg show up.
In little cameos.
Oh, man.
They should be a doofus cop duo that's like barricading a street, and one of them's holding a monkey.
He's talking about me or this. All right. So yeah, that's a lot of the big news. Let's go ahead and jump on over to the next one. This is just a fun one because it was a little list that was book series that should have a video game adaptations. This is by Drew Ferguson on The Gamer from October 15, 2024. And number 6 out of 6 was on the list was Dark Tower. And Drew said,
"We've talked about this before.
We have. Nobody's broken that barrier yet. We haven't had a King video game. It's just not happened yet. So." Once that floodgate opens,
I still use 2 6-shooters in Red Dead in honor of Roland. There's certain missions where I'm like, yep, this is a Roland mission.
You never go to the speed guns, right? Do you always use revolvers in Red Dead?
I never go to the more upgraded magazine.
No, God no,
absolutely not. No, I do like the cattlemen. Like those are my my go-to.
Yeah.
And then I always wear a duster.
Yeah.
Always wear a duster.
Red kerchief.
Mm-hmm. Like, and then a hat. Gotta have a hat.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh no. Yeah. And then the first thing I do if I lose it and because I'm always in first person.
Yeah.
But then when I just realize I've lost, I'll drop everything I'm doing, go to my horse to get my hat back.
Gotta get my hat. My hat.
But this says Roland and the rest of his quartet belong to a world that's moved on, and it's a world that could be utterly fascinating to explore in a game. This would need to be very delicately done as the world, and then in parentheses S, so worlds maybe.
Yeah.
That these books are set in is deliberately mysterious and somewhat vague. It's full of things that would make more sense to us than they do for some of the inhabitants of the books. But the characters are so well drawn and the conflict is so vital that reading these books feels like being on the same quest as Roland, the quest for the Dark Tower. Video games naturally help you lean into the world and the stories inside of them. Since you're actively experiencing it for yourself, going on this journey with Roland, Jake, Eddie, and Susanna could be exhilarating, heartbreaking, and a fantastic adventure. And all I'm saying is, amen.
Yeah.
Amen. And I've been saying it even since the Mazzara days. It's like, maybe get a video game made and, it becomes successful, and that becomes another point for a studio where they're like, oh, you got 20 million people regularly playing this game, maybe those people all show up to a show.
Yeah.
So, pretty cool. Let's jump on over to Odds and Ends is next up. So The Monkey gets its first trailer is the first one. I don't know if you've seen it yet.
Shit, I still keep forgetting to watch that.
It is it's pretty good because there was one previous.
Oh, fuck off!
There was one previous, and it was just like the monkey tapping, and I think you got one shot of the main actor covered in blood.
Yeah.
But this one has some of that, but there's a lot more footage in it. It's like a minute and a half long. But the only thing that I'm perplexed about is it seems like they changed the monkey. He's got drums
instead of a cymbal.
Instead of the cymbals. I mean, it's still creepy.
Yeah.
I mean, clearly, right?
Obviously, with my reaction. I don't like monkeys.
Yeah.
Not a fan.
Let's go ahead and jump on over to the next one. Moving from monkeys to werewolves.
Damn it.
So the original director for Silver Bullet recently wrote a book, and he left the film, or he was the original director. He didn't end up directing. He ended up leaving the project.
Okay.
He wrote a book recently, and it kind of explains why. He's also pretty famous because he did the Phantasm movies. I don't think I've ever exposed you to those, but it's like, a kid, and he's like this tall man, and he's got the little silver ball that like little killing instruments come out of, and this ball just flies around and kills people. So that's where this guy kind of got his notoriety. So the film was produced by Dino De Laurentiis. They were having struggles on getting the script right, and the director at the time, Don Coscolari, had made his bones with the Phantasm films and was very happy that they ended up getting a fax from Stephen King that was 3 pages of notes. And he felt that like all of the notes that he was seeing was solving all the problems they were having essentially with the script.
Nice.
But Dino De Laurentiis scowled and humped while reading through King's notes and threw them out without a second glance. And in that moment, Coscolari knew that he wanted nothing to do with this project anymore. And within a few days, he flew home and quit the movie. And his quote is, he says, "My jaw literally dropped open. It made no sense until it did. This guy was clueless. He had just been handed a gift from one of the greatest writers of our generation and was happy to just trash it. And he was in total control of my movie. The next day I flew back to Los Angeles and forgot about Silver Bullet." So
Jeez.
that's not
Makes you wonder what it could have been.
Yeah,
you know?
that's not a bad reason to quit. That's not at all. What am I missing in the chat here? There's a lot of.
Alan says he forgot to watch the trailer for The Monkey 2. Baraki says Silver Bullet was one of my first King novels I read. Huge nostalgic vibes. And then Alan says, "Wow, Silver Bullet revealing." Yeah,
Yeah, it's pretty interesting, and you always hear about creative differences and stuff, and it's kind of cool that sometimes way down the road somebody will write a book or do an interview, and you find out what those differences were, and it's
dude,
like
I'm telling you, we're gonna get that from the guy who directed the Dark Tower movie.
And we did. We had that interview where he kind of talked in brief about it and stuff. So, and it kind of was revealing, or it just felt like there was.
Yeah, that's what that means.
Yeah, there's too many cooks, like a lot of Sony being Sony. So,
Sony being Sony.
Yeah. Next up, this is an interesting. Oh, that's the same. There we go.
All right, so we had monkeys, we had werewolves, penguins.
No, but we got King's first animated short.
Oh, okay.
Coming out. It's called, or it's out now. It's called Lily. It's on YouTube. It is written by Stephen King, and it is directed and narrated by Kate Siegel.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's like 9 minutes long. I haven't watched it yet. I ended up finding this one fairly late in doing the prep, so I haven't watched it yet. But I'll definitely give it a watch. It'll be in the show notes, so you can go check it out. But yeah, it's pretty cool. Kate Siegel directed and narrated it. King wrote it, and it is a brave new world for King. He's never done an animated short before. So
excellent.
WTF? LOL. And then Alan as well. Sony, not surprising.
Yeah, he also says he's got to watch that.
Yeah, so that'll be pretty cool. I'll throw that in the show notes. Let's go ahead and go on over to Uncle.
What was it called?
Lily.
Lily. Okay.
Yeah. Let's go on over to Uncle Stevie Recommends. Get to the slideshow. Where the hell is it? There we go. I got to get on the right slide. There we go. So the first one is his tweet is Teacup. If you like From or Lost, I think you'll enjoy this. It's a strange, creepy, claustrophobic, and scary. Beware the Gas Mask Man. Or wait, is that the right? Yes. Okay. Beware the Gas Mask Man. Short episodes, all killer, no filler. Peacock Bows October 10th, so it's out now. So that's pretty cool. Next up,
I saw a little thing for that one.
Yeah.
It looks creepy as fuck.
Yeah, I need to check it out. Gas Mask Man just sounds like a lot of fun. Next up, Disclaimer on Apple Plus. The first episode a little slow, but stick with it, and you'll be engrossed. So, I do. It's funny to me that King is all into the Apple stuff a lot. Next up, The Oligarch's Daughter. And this is getting into books now. Any new novel by Joseph Finder is a ticket to reading pleasure, and this one is hands down his best ever. Coming in January, pick it up. And the next one is The Nesting by C.J. Cook. Pure spooky pleasure, plenty of good writing without showing off. The narrative moves briskly and with the grade A characterizations. And then the last one is Prom Mom, which that's fun to say. Laura Lippman, well plotted, well written, clear-eyed, and I never saw the ending coming. There's a hell of a 1-2 punch waiting for you.
Oh.
So if you're of the realm of following Stephen King on what to read or watch, that's your stuff to check out. So let's move on over to the Palaver section. So let's talk in brief about Salem's Lot. We did that on our Patreon, but ultimately we wanted to discuss specifically the Father Callahan side of things.
What Father Callahan things? Dude got iced like 5 seconds in.
Again, 3 fucking times.
I've still never seen the other one, so it's just like...
They've done this 3 times now, and all 3 times they killed fucking Callahan. It's like, come on.
Yeah, there was a little bit we talked about when we were doing the hangout. You're like, maybe he could be the Father Callahan. I'm like, he's dead. Like, they killed him. Like, like, what do you mean? Like, there is no if or maybe.
Yeah.
He's dead.
He did a good job overall. Yeah. But yeah, it wasn't like so like knock my socks off that I was like, I want this guy in Flanagan's. Like, if Flanagan did it, it would be kind of cool. But it's like, I don't know. Flanagan's got such a roster under him already that I'm like, I could imagine some really good Callahans.
Well, we mentioned it earlier, and I think it was someone in the chat that said that Mark Hamill is right there.
Yeah.
You know? I mean, that's a little bit bigger role. No, that was the Redditor, wasn't it? That said that, and he said, no, a smaller role and everything. So, like, like the Crimson King, and that's where him and Flanagan were chatting at New York Comic Con, supposedly.
Yeah.
Allegedly.
So that's I don't know. Well, overall, though, I think that I will say, in short, I liked the movie. I know a lot of people are shitting on it. It's not perfect, but like, I don't know. I thought it did a good job of
I
being
didn't
spooky.
think there was anything really wrong with it. It got me a couple times,
Yeah.
freaking me out. You know, that light bulb smashing scene where he just reaches up and pops it.
Yeah. No, I thought it was. It's weird how the internet has basically turned on it pretty much entirely almost. But it's like I enjoyed it for what it was. Like I'm never going to expect something to be as good as King's book because that's pretty uncommon. But I think it would have been. And then to find out later now that he originally had a 3-hour cut.
Yeah.
And like, hey, if you're going to release it on HBO Max, why not just do the fucking 3-hour cut?
Yeah,
like,
just give the people what they want.
Just do it, including, I think, I saw a thing, I don't think I put it in any of my notes, but recently he talked about the 3-hour cut, and he's like, yeah, it would have had the entire Marston House thing would have been the opening. So kind of a bummer not to have that, because that would have been something else to have, for
Absolutely.
sure. Let's see here. We've got in terms of overall, I did want to mention with the Salem's Lot stuff though that I did enjoy it. Check it out if you haven't seen it yet. If you're seeing the stuff online and thinking it's not worth watching, I think it's worth a watch for sure. There was a couple really spooky scenes. I really wish I could have seen it in theaters though. That was maybe a big bummer where it's like, oh man, like come on, why couldn't you just release it theatrically?
Even if it doesn't do too hot.
Yeah, and I think it may have done all right. It did all right on HBO Max too. That's the other thing is I have seen some reporting that like the viewership on it has actually been pretty decent. So
it came out at the perfect time of year. Oh, it's vampires and spooky season. Let's do it.
Yeah. I will say there's a lot of vampire stuff anymore. It feels like there's vampire stuff everywhere. You got that Taika Waititi show. I don't know. I just feel like vampires are overrepresented when it comes to like the overall monsters.
Yeah,
like
there's always vampire stuff. Yeah, always.
Yeah, I watched a couple on my marathon too.
How did that go, by the way?
Got it completed.
Yeah.
I felt like
you didn't reduce yourself to a puddle of goo. So.
No, and I felt like it by the end, man. Watching 52 movies in 31 days. That's a challenge. But I got some good ones. A couple Flanagan ones. Hush, which was really good, like slasher film with Kate Siegel playing a deaf lady that's being attacked by a killer. And he was like used a knife, but he also had a crossbow, so it was kind of different than your normal slasher because like. He's now got ranged weapons.
Yeah, that's not a nice weapon to have to go against.
And then Ouija, Origins of Evil, one of his second or third movie, I think. I ended up skipping that back in the day because I don't think I saw Oculus in theaters, but I wasn't in the frame of mind of like, oh, this director's amazing. Let me check out anything he does from now on. I do that more nowadays. But back then I didn't, and I hated the first Ouija movie, so when the second one was announced, I'm like, I'm not fucking seeing another Ouija movie. Not going to happen. Finding out later that Flanagan did it, I'm like, God damn it. So I went and watched that one. That one was really good. The only thing that really threw me off is Shirley from Haunting a Hill House. The older one plays the mom, and the younger one plays the daughter. So it's two Shirleys. I'm like, I'm seeing doubles.
Yeah. Oh no, I've gone cross-eyed.
But it was good, nice and spooky. I was disappointed that when they first grabbed an Ouija board and opened it up and the rules were there and it's like never play alone, always say goodbye, never play in a graveyard. I'm like, well, and I told Hayden last night, I'm like, well, the whole point is to go play. My dream is to get you, Hayden, to go out to the Salt Lake Cemetery with an Ouija board. Like, why would you ruin the fun here? Not doing a cemetery. Come on. That's the funnest.
I think it's more of respect the cemetery than something's gonna happen with the Ouija board, Tad. Don't go being disrespectful at a cemetery, you know.
I also watched Needful Things. I had never seen that before. So with Ed Harris, that was pretty good.
Was it?
Yeah, I enjoyed it. The Nettie Cobb with the dog was the burglar, or not, the armed robber in Pulp Fiction. There's like the two that robbed the diner. Remember, she's kind of like, and so when I saw her, I'm like, I couldn't place her, but I was like, I know that lady.
I know this.
So I had to like pause it and look it up. But like, that was actually a good movie. I didn't watch the movie because apparently the disc I have, if you go to the second disc, it's the TV version, which is an hour longer. But with watching 52 movies,
shorter is better.
Yeah, 2 hours works for me. So,
I got a little bit of news. I finished Desperation.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
I don't have my.
I had it I already checked. It's already checked off.
Oh, is
that's
it?
one. That's the one. Desperation and Regulators. Remember, is one. One's a Bachman. One's a King.
Yeah.
They're the same characters and just kind of different stories. Put the characters. How would they react to this scenario?
So it's King doing an anthology.
Yes. And I had read Desperation, but I didn't remember it. But we had checked it off anyway. So.
Yeah.
But I finished Regulators earlier this year, like this summer. So decided to.
What did you think?
Push
Those are
through.
still on my list. I think I even bought one of them. I just haven't got around to it yet.
Desperation's a little bit long. Regulators is a nice tight, like, I think it's like 12 to 14 hours. And Desperation's like 30.
Yeah,
It's a lot.
I think
it's a lot longer.
I think that's the one I bought because I
Yeah.
needed a credit and I was looking at the two and I'm like, well, I'm going to buy the longer one first. Not that I'm going to read it first, but it's like
Yeah.
I'm going to buy that one first because
give
me
well,
long.
It just kind of sucked because like I'm partway through it. You know, I've already been with these characters because I read the Regulators. I've listened to the Regulators before it, so that's why I got kind of bogged down. Took some time, listened to some podcasts, and then I had a book come across my desk, basically where a guy wrote a book that takes place between Batman and Batman Begins.
Oh,
And
yeah.
it's like the fallout of what happens to Gotham with the Joker's death. Like, the Joker's gang is still around.
Oh, you mean Batman Returns?
What'd I say?
You said Batman Begins. I
no,
was-
sorry.
I,
Yeah,
like, the more I
Batman-
thought about that, I'm like, wait a minute.
Yeah,
How
Batman.
the hell does that work?
Yeah, Batman Returns. Yeah.
Okay.
So between the two Burton films, the book takes place there. And so far, I'm seeing great things about it. And I'm like, you know what? I've never read a Batman book. Why the hell not? I got 5 credits just sitting here.
Yeah.
And so I bought that, and then I bought another book, Fireman by Joe Hill.
Oh, yeah. I think I have that one. I haven't read it yet, though.
Yeah, and then I can't remember the third book that I bought.
You read Nosferatu, right?
Yes.
Okay. That's the only one I read for him for sure.
That
but
one-
that was a fun one.
The audiobook bothered me for that one.
Really?
I can't remember why.
Not the actor, is it? Kate Mulgrew?
I don't remember.
Captain Janeway?
I don't remember.
When I was listening to it, I was like Leo'd it to my headphones, like, up. I'm like, that's Captain Janeway. I know that voice.
You watched
Voyager.
Voyager.
Oh, yeah,
You
yeah.
watched a lot of Voyager.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so apparently
I didn't recognize her,
she's
so.
a favorite of his too. I went through and looked at a lot of his books, and who is that for King? I guess there really isn't anyone because he's got so many fucking books. That's the problem. But
Yeah.
you've got like Will Patton, Frank Muller.
Yep.
You got some that are repeat dudes, but I don't think there's one that's like, John
That's the King.
John and Ringo
Yeah.
together, where it's like, oh, this author always has this. Like Mark Thompson always does Star Wars books.
Yeah.
Like he's like the guy they go to for all Star Wars novels. Like King doesn't really have that, but Joe Hill, I'd say that when I looked, I don't know how true I'm remembering, but if I remember right, it's like 60-70% of his books are Kate Mulgrew
Oh, really?
doing it. Which she was in not Dr. Sleep, Mr. Mercedes, wasn't she?
The series?
Wasn't she in the 3rd season?
I've still never
Was-
seen the series.
You haven't?
I got through partway through season 1 and then stopped.
Doesn't the person have a psychotic mom that kind of goes crazy?
She has.
Which would be book 2.
Book
if I no, I'm talking not the first story. It's in the 3rd season, which I think is the 2nd book. The dude that steals the books, is it? And then he's got like a crazy mom.
His mom is like an educated, like, college professor putting him down
Mm.
because she reads the books that he's so obsessed with, and then
Maybe
she makes fun of them, which drives him out of the house. He goes and drinks and ends up raping the girl, and that's how he ends up in prison.
Oh, okay.
So
maybe they change it up for the show because she's like fucking nuts, and it's Kate Mulgrew, so it's kind of
Oh,
it's
okay.
kind of cool that you do need to throw that on your list at some point.
I keep seeing it on Peacock every time I go onto Peacock. I'm like, oh yeah, Mr. Mercedes.
Yeah.
I think I've watched half of the first season, but I think it came down to like it was on that weird channel to start.
Yeah,
And-
like an audience network or
Yeah,
some shit.
and I was able to watch half of the first season, and then they did that stupid mid-season break or whatever the hell it is, and
Yeah.
and then I'm just like, I'll wait until Tad gets it on disc or something, and then it ended up getting put on Peacock, and I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
and I'm like, I went to the series, and I'm like, I have no idea where I am, and I'm like, that's too much work, and I went and found something else to watch.
Yeah, probably just restart it for sure. But that does bring us to emails.
It's right.
Tad's gonna read us what people wrote to us.
You know that's not getting deleted, right? God damn it.
That's like 8 years ago that happened.
That was a long time ago, yeah. Yeah, so we do have an email. This is from Justin. So Justin emailed us. It said, "Hey guys, I just recently started listening to The Dark Tower on Audible, mainly because I was looking for something to listen to on a flight to France. Listening to Dark Tower on a flight, that seems
apropos.
That seems like an okay thing to do. And I don't know where he's from, so I don't know if that's like a short flight or if that's like a transatlantic, 13-hour
for
flight.
all we know, it could be Germany to France.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like us to Vegas. It's like you get up to the height just to go right
just
back
to go
down,
right back down.
pretty much. Although it always trips me out with Vegas, though, because it's an hour flight and there's an hour time difference.
Yep.
So you take off at 6 p.m. and you land at 6 p.m.
Yeah, you take off at like 6 p.m. and you land at 6:06 p.m. 6-minute flight.
Well, no, because it's an hour flight,
Yeah.
and a lot of times, more often than not, it ends up being less. So it'll be like
really?
55 minutes. They're able to trim a couple
So
minutes
you
off.
travel back in time.
Yeah, so it's like I literally there's been times because you have like the busing and shit.
Yeah.
There's been times that when they dolly you to the runways and all that. So there's a little bit of extra minutes, but yeah, there's been times where literally it's like take off at 6 and land at 6. And I'm like,
I will say that it was very weird for me. The one time I flew from the East Coast back to Utah, we were coming from Virginia, so we flew from Virginia down to Georgia, and then from Atlanta, we flew from Atlanta straight to Salt Lake City. Dude, it was trippy getting off the plane before I boarded. Like, the flight's long, but the plane travels fast enough that I was basically like, I got off the plane like 15 minutes before I boarded. It was trippy.
Yeah.
I boarded the plane at like 2:00 and I got off the plane at like 1:45 Utah time.
I think there's some time slippage in air flight anyway, because one year I flew from Utah to Orlando and Utah to Cancun.
Yeah.
Cancun Airport, and they were the exact same flight time. Like, look at a map and tell me how that's fucking right. The exact same. They're both 4-hour flights.
That's crazy.
Like, there's
okay,
no
so
logic.
I had one like that where I'm like,
I know we're
tangenting
in the middle of email,
I mean,
but
that's
my
what we
God.
do. But I was talking to someone and they're like, oh yeah, I'm flying here, and I'm like, oh, that must be like a longer flight because like one of our friends at work was just going down to Mexico and he told me how long the flight was. I'm like,
4 hours.
Yeah, so down to Mexico is like 4 hours, and you're going farther east and that far
And down,
south.
yeah.
So you're going, and they're like, no, it's like 3.5, and I'm like, wait. And so like I was so confused by it. I actually looked up like, how can flights be shorter when going farther? And it turns out that there's jet streams that plays a part into it. And I'm just like, that's nuts.
You know what I picture? Is it Mario Kart with the boosters?
Yeah, just boom.
That's what I'm picturing.
Yeah.
It's like the pilot just sees like two things floating in the air and goes between it and just go faster. So he said, I instantly got hooked, and I've now listened to the first 5 books. I ran out of credits on Audible. That's a bummer. Oh, at least he didn't run out on the cliffhanger. Can you imagine?
Ooh.
Can you imagine?
Ooh.
He got through the first 5 books. That's a cliffhanger though. The end of book 5.
Yeah.
Susanna running away, taking Black 13. Like, that's not a great place to stop either.
Yeah.
He says, so I started looking for a podcast about the series to tidy me over until the few days until I get more credits to download the next 2 books. So that is how I found you. I subscribed to several podcasts, and yours happened to be the first one on my feed. And I started listening yesterday at work. I listened to the first episode and then skipped to the book club episodes about the first book. So it has been a few years since you talked about this part. Well, yeah, 8 years. But you both seem to be a little unsure about the hoodoo and why Roland was so lustful for Sylvia, despite her unflattering description. I never thought about hoodoo being an uncommon word or associate that word with Sylvia's charm, but hearing you talk about it made me draw a connection that may or may not be real. I'm familiar with hoodoo because I'm a blues musician, and I have a little bit of obsession with blues history and early recordings. References to hoodoo practice and even the word itself are very common in early blues songs. Like, for instance, Muddy Waters says Hoochie Coochie Man, I got a black cat bone, and Mojo 2, I got John the Conqueror, and I'm gonna mess with you. Let's see, I won't get into what all that means, but just to say that the lyrics like that are all over the blues of early and mid 20th century. So So here is where listening to you guys made me draw the connection with Hoodoo and Sylvia, a connection from our world. The first time I heard her description, and especially later when he talked about her mountainous thighs, I pictured a woman from the artwork of R. Crumb. If you're unfamiliar, just Google him, which you might have to do that.
R. Crumb.
Yeah. The women are usually presented as being somewhat plain but still very sexual, and always with enormous thick thighs. To me, I instantly just felt like that is who King was thinking of when writing her description. Then there's the Hoodoo connection. Crumb was also obsessed with the characters of early blues, many of whom lived crazier than fiction lives. He did a series of drawings called Heroes of the Blues, portraying many of these individuals. So it's a tenuous connection, but if King as a child was familiar with these larger-than-life characters who were the blues singers of his time and from the past, and also the works of R. Crumb, it doesn't strike me as odd that he would use the words hoodoo in the story arc involving a large woman with mountainous thighs. And honestly, just a pause here, I will say, I don't think that's far-fetched because King is a music hound.
Yeah.
He listens to a lot of different kinds of music. He's a musician. He was in that band with a couple different writers and stuff, including the writer of The Simpsons. So honestly, him being a blues fan is not at all far-fetched. And it also made me think of Larry Underwood teaching Leo. He teaches him a blues song. And it's like, it's like an older blues song. So it's like, honestly, he's probably onto something here.
R. Crumb, let me try and put this into terms that we can understand. Death by Schnoo Schnoo. Futurama. You don't understand that one?
No, I didn't stick with it. I need to give it another shot.
There's an episode where they crash on a planet and it's domineered by giant women, like 7 foot tall, 8 foot tall women. You know, like how you would feel about
Amazons.
Yes. How you would feel about like
It always reminds me of Dwight when they're going clubbing and he runs into that.
I'm trying to think of someone right now because the one that comes to mind is from 90s wrestling China.
Yeah.
The woman who could very easily kick the shit out of me.
Yeah.
And you find that attractive kind of thing.
Or Dwight when he sees those basketball players and they're at the club, he's like, Amazons.
Yes. But yeah, like Baraki says in the chat, Death by Schnoo Schnoo. They land on this planet and the women want the men for that. Okay. And that's what they call it, is Schnoo Schnoo. So they're like, Death by Schnoo Schnoo. And they're like, yay. Wait. Yeah. So it's like...
Back in the 90s when that show started, late 90s, I think, I tried to watch it, but I was just kind of a punk kid and I just expected it to be The Simpsons and it wasn't.
Yeah.
But it's like, it feels so natural to me because I know it's going to be like Simpsons level like writing. Then it's sci-fi. I'm a nerd. I love sci-fi. So it's like I really don't think I was fair to it when it first came out. So maybe it's a thing that I just need to jump into at some point and watch. I know about the dog. I've seen the clips of the dog.
It's also hard because like my wife and I said the same thing. Like, oh, let's go watch Futurama. We both have seen parts of the series. Let's go watch it. The problem is like when you get to later seasons on Hulu.
Yeah.
Because it's on Hulu. And they have exclusives now for Hulu. When it got canceled at one point, they started doing, like, movies.
Yeah.
But what they did is they didn't release them as movies. They just took them and broke them into, like, 20-minute segments and put them as season whatever.
Yeah.
And it's really confusing because it's like, man, this is all, like, one continuous...
It's not self-contained.
It's all, like, one continuous story, like, one to the next, and it wasn't as good. Yeah. In my opinion.
Yeah.
But
I need to give it a try,
though.
Those
first, 4 or 5 seasons were they're fucking funny.
Yeah. I know the dog, though. I've seen that.
The Fry's dog. Of course you would have.
It's just, I blame Reddit. I think that's where I first saw it, and somebody posted a clip and stuff, and, because everyone was, like, obviously reacting pretty poorly to it.
Think of, when he's talking about R. Crumb, think of, like, weightlifters, like these muscular women who could literally take my head and go and squish it,
Yeah. And then
hands or thighs, dealer's choice.
So Xenia on top from Goldeneye,
yes,
which is Jean Grey.
Yeah,
it's the Jean Grey actor. So hey, I remember even as a younger person, I don't remember what that came out in '96 or something. So I probably would have been pretty young, like 10 or 11 when that came out. And I remember being like, that's not a bad way to go. When she crushes that dude and
There are worse ways.
Yeah, there are worse ways to go. And then he goes on and says he definitely would have known these things because of the blues and folk revival, which brought many of these forgotten legends out of retirement and onto the huge festival stages all over the world. I know he's at least familiar with the scene from the later references, such as before Bob Dylan could play more than an open G on his Honer, which that's another line. I'm forgetting who said that, but maybe that's a Stand thing. Because somebody
is that Larry?
That's a good reference, and I can't place it, but I know that fucking reference. Like,
Say it one more time.
Before Bob Dylan could play more than an open G on his Honer. Yeah, that's a good one there. And he says, just for some food for thought. Looking forward to listening to more of your thoughts on the rest of the series. Signed, Justin. And that is kind of interesting because, like, I wonder how many people just hit our book clubs more. But
yeah,
I don't know.
He makes a good point about Sylvia Pittston. There is that type of woman that can be large, but when and
I don't even remember what we said, dude. That was
probably just like, why is Roland so enthralled by someone who's described as being like a large, portly woman? But
yeah,
I don't know if it ever actually says portly.
Yeah,
and that was what 8-9 years
probably
ago.
8 years ago. Yeah, would be my guess.
I mean, we were idiots then. We're idiots now. So.
Yeah, just older idiots now.
Yeah, exactly.
But we were also probably speaking over one mic.
That's back when we had to lean in to talk to one mic.
Oh, I still cringe at those. Like, I can't even go back and listen because it's just like
I did. I listened to the first 10 episodes a couple years ago. Yeah, it's pretty.
I get critical of because it's like presentation, right?
Yeah.
And then there's even times where I'm just like, maybe this is why people delete their first few episodes because it's just, and I don't want to because we covered a lot of good stuff there, but it's like
we did our fan casting episode 3 or something like that.
Yes, probably. So, but it just makes me cringe because I'm like, I hope people don't jump in at the very beginning and go, oh, this sounds like shit. Like, I hope people jump to a modern episode and go, okay, they figure it out eventually. Because that's what I usually do when I'm listening to a podcast, when I'm judging.
This kind of sucks.
I'll listen. I'm like, God, are they speaking through a tin can? And I'll go and look at the newest episode and go, okay, they fix it at some point. But if they don't, if I go and it's 200 episodes later and they still sound like that, I'm like, all right, I can't do this.
Yeah.
Can't do it. If you're recorded on your iPhone and in an airplane, it's not going to work for me. I
think that Randall Flagg is the bad guy.
Well, that's false. I understood enough to know that you're speaking lies there. Lies and deceptions. All right. So, yeah, that is it for the emails and a good return to the email jingle. So, yeah, that's good thoughts, though, Justin. Thank you for sending that in because, it's I mean, and I've kind of always wondered if that's what would happen with book clubs is down the road. We just get an email a long time later. But we definitely always are open to emails for our book club episodes as well. Of course, you won't be able to respond real time unless you're in the chat with us, but if you do send an email, we will try to get to it. But I think generally speaking, we'll probably discuss it in a roundtable because there's just a lot more structure to the book clubs, and
absolutely
we don't have as much time to tangent in those. So
I looked it up just because I was curious. Episode 3 and 4 was our film Dreamcast. We went so long we ended up splitting it into 2 episodes.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah. That's a long time ago. All right, so reminder, the March Insanity, let me pull that back up on screen, 2025. The Dark Tower bracket is favorite spoken lines in the Dark Tower, and in the non-Dark Tower King bracket is most hated non-Dark Tower character. Send in your nominations via social media. Peter can tell you about all that, or social media, email, all that kind of stuff, or send it in the chat here if you're live, or send it in the comments on the video if you're watching in the future. As long as it's before the end of the year, get all that stuff sent in. We'll remind you during the book club in the next couple episodes, and including the year-end bash, which is coming up as well, because we will give you until the December 31st, basically January 1st when I wake up, that'll be the cutoff where it's now at that point I'll start to be able to cobble everything together of what's going to make the bracket, what's not, and then stage the bracket and all that kind of stuff. So also that's another part of it is how it's staged is based on votes. So if something gets the 4 that get the most votes end up at the 4 corners.
They're the 1 seats.
Yeah, because we don't want them to run into each other until late in the game because you don't want to put Cordelia and Rhea, let's put those facing off in round 1. That would be stupid in the most hated. Of course, everyone loves Ermot, though. I'm surprised Ermot didn't get on the list for most beloved.
No. No.
We know Rhea likes Ermot.
Rhea's opinion is irrelevant.
Because he does things to her.
Hashtag Tad is terrible. Good Lord, Tad.
disgusting.
Oh. I'm going to go throw up in between shows.
I love it. All right, so I'll hit my outro and let Peter do his. If you want to contact,
I'm not going to be able to
if
now.
you want to contact the show for the March Insanity. So yeah, on my side, if you want to subscribe to us, you can do that on any podcasting delivery system of your choice. Stream us on Spotify, Amazon, Audible, anywhere like that. You can join us live streams here at youtube.com/DarkTowerPalaver, like Alan and Baraki that were involved the whole time in the chat. We had Robert chime in as well, maybe others. I know we got more people that have listened the whole time because the numbers have been up there. But you guys are all awesome to be in, to be part of the conversation. We love you guys being part of it all. But if you want to join us like that, it's youtube.com/DarkTowerPalaver. We record every 2 weeks, every fortnight, as it were. And yeah, just subscribe and you'll get notifications and stuff. You can join us live and be part of the chat, and send emojis to Peter, or tell him that Flag is the hero of the story. And then if you want to find the show notes, you can do that at darktowerpalaver.com. Everything I covered in this episode will be over there, as well as I'll probably make sure there's a note on there for the March Insanity that it's coming up, and like the headlines, or not the topics for the two brackets. Remember also, I do believe I fixed our website up to where now if you go to darktowerpalaver.com/marchinsanity, it like bring you to a hub that's all things March Insanity. I believe I have that working right. So you can check that out if you want to go straight to that.
Dark.com/March Insanity?
March Insanity, yeah. I believe that's I believe that should bring you right to a hub that has like all the posts that are March
Good
Insanity.
Lord, Ted, what am I No, I'm just kidding.
It's a penguin.
Yeah.
The inside of a penguin's mouth. That's a good picture.
That is... Ugh.
And then if you want to find, so show notes are over there. Questions for new listeners. If you do want to email, the email jingle made its triumphant return after a long layover. If you do want to email the show, Peter will let you know how to do that. If you want to support the show, you can do that at patreon.com/darktowerpalaver. And then, yeah, Peter can tell you how to reach us and tell us how much Ermot.
Stop it. Email us at show@darktowerpalaver.com. You can also, like Tad said, use social media to send in your stuff for March Insanity. We got our Twitter. It's at DarkTowerPod. That's at DarkTowerPod. We got our Blue Sky. It's at darktowerpalaver.bsky.social. Our Facebook is facebook.com/DarkTowerPalaver. Instagram is DarkTowerPalaver, all one word, no spaces. And then if you want merchandise, check out tpublic.com/users/DarkTowerPalaver.
You know what I think I need to do too?
No.
Is for the most hated. Most of these are probably have been done in the movies. It just reminded me because Baraki said Percy Wetmore.
Yep.
I wonder if I can get it built to where I could have the picture of the people next to the thing when you're voting. Imagine looking at Percy's
Baraki,
face.
yes, he did. Don't say that. Yes, Irma did do stuff wrong. Don't.
But yeah, no, I just wonder if I can get the pictures because some of these characters, like when you're looking at Mrs. Carmondy's face when you're voting, like that. Of course, I'll get the one where she's like shouting and pointing too. Like that'll be the picture I'll pick.
It's worse when she's drinking the milk.
Yeah.
Because I like milk, and she soils something that I love. Like,
everyone has anymore. In the old days, it used to be that milk was like in movies and TV was a sign of like purity and like innocence.
Yes, you have a glass of milk with your dinner.
Now they've flipped it on its head to where like Homelander. Like, tell me that dude has not ruined milk in some ways where you're just like, I don't want to ever touch milk again.
Here's a milkshake, and it's like, but Homelander likes milkshakes.
So reminder again, we have 3 episodes this month, so there will be a fortnight from now, and then 2 weeks after that will still be November. We are going to do a round table, so it'll basically be going roundtable book club all the way out through the rest of the year. December we are flipping the episodes so that we have the year-end bash as our final episode of the year.
Yeah.
And then we'll
figure out January when it comes time. We haven't looked that far ahead. There's a lot to go in the next 2 months.
Yes, indeed. So we'll sign off as we always do by saying long days and pleasant nights.
Long days and pleasant nights, folks.
Oi.
I swear to God, if you bring up Irma one more time, I'm going to throw something at you.
All right, everyone in the chat, thank y'all for joining. I do think there is a snake emoji, too. I'm just pointing that out there. I don't know if there's a witch emoji. If you did like a witch plus a snake. He's looking for something to throw at me. Oh, man.
You better end the episode before I find something to throw at you.
But you guys are awesome. Thank y'all for joining. And if you want to join us for Geekery Bides, we'll be back in a few minutes for that. If not, we'll see you in a fortnight for our next step, which might see some Rhea and Ermont, maybe. We'll see.
It's stuck to your microphone.
Oh, man. All right. We'll see you guys.
Bye, everyone.